This dude straight up got kicked out of the kingdom. This guy was a dragon tamer, but he did way more than just tame them. Plus, there are all kinds of wild monsters and spirits lurking around. And get this, he's even got a crazy healing power. This sealing art is insane because it can instantly trap even the strongest people alive. And it basically shuts down every single type of magic. He can whip up crazy potions and way more. But let's just jump into the story before I spoil all the fun. This white dragon touches down with our guy on her back, and they're standing in this gorgeous spot surrounded by a whole bunch of other dragons. The second the MC hopped off her back, she shifted into a human and announced they'd finally arrived at the Dragon Nation. She welcomed the RMC raid, and that's when the epic story of this dragon tamer officially kicks off. It's a story about how doing the right thing actually pays off in a big way. The Dragon Knight Corps are the ones guarding the divine dragon empire of Lazaria. In that kingdom, Raid spends his days looking after the legendary sky dragons. In this world, people are born with special powers called skills, and his family has been passing down the legendary Dragon Tamer ability for generations. His Dragon Tamer skill lets him hear the dragon's roars as clear voices in his heart. So he used that power to serve the Empire as their official dragon caretaker. Raid checked out a dragon named Faye to see what she was all about. They can tell he's been pushing himself way too hard in all their recent missions. Faye explains that the Dragon Knights are totally using them and forcing them to spam their breath way too much. Raid was totally fed up because those Dragon Knights were acting super reckless for the third time now. He's taking this straight to the big bosses, but right as Raid turns to leave, Faye stops him and says, "It's all good." He's just digging himself into a deeper hole by trying to protect them. And now everyone's even calling him a total fraud who's just stealing a paycheck. He's actually right, because Raid warned them the dragon needed more rest, but they just blamed him and called him a total fraud who was stealing a paycheck. It's the same old story, so Raid told Faye not to let it get to him. He dumped a special potion into Faye's bucket to help him feel way better. Raid's family left him those sky dragons as a gift, but the Dragon Knights are totally gonna work them into the ground at this rate. Faye saw right through Raid's thoughts and told him to stop overthinking because it's just a total waste of time. Right then, all the other dragons surrounding them made their move. He shouted over to Raid, asking for his special homemade potion and a ton of other gear. Raid scratched his head, looking at the 50 sky dragons he had to handle, knowing he was totally going to be stuck working until midnight again. He can keep pushing forward because he's got the sky dragons backing him up. Skip ahead, and Raid actually ended up pulling a total all-nighter. Just as he started sorting his potions, a knight showed up and told him the Emperor wanted to see him right now. Raid didn't even think twice and followed him right out, and came face to face with the 37th Emperor of Lazaria. This big guy just told Raid that he's officially fired starting right now. Raid's eyes popped wide open in total shock. The Emperor basically admitted that since their sky dragons are so well behaved, anyone could look after them, proving he's just a total fraud getting paid for doing nothing. Raid snapped back that the sky dragons were only acting chill because he used his dragon tamer skill to actually bond with them. But the Emperor thought that was a total joke. Talking to dragons is a total myth, so the Chancellor agreed that instead of wasting money on this loser, they should just go out and buy some fresh sky dragons. Raid's stubbornness about letting the dragons rest was totally messing everything up, and because of him, a ton of sky dragons couldn't even join the fight. Raid thought the whole he's busted for lying and failing his mission, and even though he should be executed, the Emperor thinks his blood is too gross to even touch the dirt. So he decided to just kick him out of the Empire instead. Raid was in total shock because he knew for a fact that something was seriously wrong. His dad was a dragon tamer caretaker who was actually best friends with the old Emperor. But once the Emperor died and his son took the throne with a new chancellor, everything totally flipped. He caught the other officials whispering and laughing nearby, realizing right then that every single one of them was in on the plan. They warned him to never show his face in the Empire again and then literally kicked him to the curb. Raid totally snuck his way inside the building. He headed straight to where the dragons were crashing and woke them all up. He had to break the news that he'd just been kicked out of his caretaker job. He's officially kicked out, but since he knows all the Sky Dragon's secrets, they're definitely sending killers to hunt him down. So he's saying one last goodbye to his old life. The dragons go totally wild, basically telling him to hop on and escape while they wreck the place. They've definitely got his back, so he just needs to unlock their chains and bust that door open. Raid told everyone to chill out, reminding them that if they kept this up, they'd all be executed. Plus, even if he sets them free, those anti-dragon barriers would just blast them right out of the sky. He's super thankful, but there's no way he's putting the family he and his dad raised in danger just to save himself. The dragon's head slumped down, feeling totally useless since they couldn't help Raid, and they panicked thinking this might be the last time they ever see him. Raid bit his lip to keep from crying, then forced a smile and thanked them for always having his back. Left all by themselves, the dragons let out a massive, ear-splitting roar. Raid gritted his teeth because he wasn't about to quit now. He refused to let Faye and the others go through any more pain. He swore he'd escape no matter what, and he was ready to keep on running. He headed straight for the Walren's Great Forest, a place where you'll just keep walking in circles unless you know the secret path. It's a total maze, just like when he heads deeper into the woods and spots a gorgeous girl with pointy ears just casually walking around. She looks like a total moon fairy, but wait, standing out there all alone means she's gonna get jumped by monsters. Raid charged straight at her, and that totally caught her eye. She turned around and her eyes totally lit up like she recognized him, giving him a big smile. Raid's face turned bright red the moment he saw her, and he couldn't help but wonder who this girl actually was. Out of nowhere, a high cobalt monster spawned right behind her. The monster lunged at the woman as she fell back in terror, but Raid instantly popped his skill to stop that high kobold from touching her. He unleashes his crazy sealing arts. They whipped out these insane dragon-binding chains and totally locked down high cobalt. He yanked the chains hard, dragging the monster right toward him. The second it was close enough, Raid lunged forward and buried his dagger right in its neck. The lady kept her eyes on him before she finally headed out. Rage put his sword away and turned to her after she cheered, acting like it was no big deal since his clan uses these moves to stop dragons when they go totally wild. These dragon-binding chains are legendary sealing spells built to hold down actual dragons, so they can basically freeze any normal monster in their tracks instantly. But honestly, that's not even the main issue here. The only thing that mattered was making sure she wasn't hurt. Luckily, she was totally fine because he'd stepped up to... She wasn't even surprised that he had absolutely no clue who she was. And there's no way he can pull it off while he's stuck in this form. She went ahead and transformed, hoping that seeing her in this form would finally jog his memory. She morphed into a four-legged beast with wings popping out of her back, using some insane high-level magic that totally ignores the laws of physics. He's the ultimate dragon at the top of the food chain who's been around since the beginning of time. The Empire calls their beasts sky dragons, and they're actually a pretty new breed that just recently evolved. But this one right here is a straight-up ancient dragon. Wait, is she actually that ancient dragon he saved 3 years ago? That's right, it's Luna, and she rushed back the second she heard he was in trouble. But when Raid asked who told her, she just said it was their family. He raised those sky dragons in the Empire like they were his own family, and now he was more confused than ever. How did the Dragon Stables crew pull that off? They basically poured their hearts into their roars to reach her, begging her to give Raid wings to escape the bad guys while telling her, She's seriously impressed by how much he actually cares about dragons. But since Raid's tamer skill only lets him understand roars aimed right at him, he didn't realize that. He's gotta thank them if they ever meet again. But hold up. Did they seriously just call her the Dragon Princess? She's actually the Dragon King's daughter, making her the Dragon Princess. And Raid finally remembers his dad talking about ancient dragon royalty who lead their kind, but he never thought he'd actually see one in real life. Can you believe the girl he saved 3 years ago was actually the Dragon Princess? Fate is seriously wild! Luna couldn't even say thank you because she was so sick, but she's determined to pay him back since ancient dragons like her definitely need his insane power. She's dying for him to come along to the Dragon Nation, the place where all those ancient dragons live. He was already trying to figure out his next move anyway. From here on out, he's totally relying on her to have his back. Luna flapped her wings and asked if he was ready, and as soon as he said yes, they took off for the Dragon Nation. Meanwhile, at the castle, the Emperor is looking over a new report. He was stoked that Raid's massive paycheck was finally back in his pocket, so he could blow it all on his favorite hobby of buying sky dragons. By now, those hunters have definitely finished Raid off for good. Out of nowhere, a massive roar ripped through the night, making the Emperor jump and drop his wine. The Chancellor bolted to his office to sound the alarm that a massive betrayal was going down. The Emperor told him to call in the Dragon Knights and crush the threat right now, no matter who it was, and the Chancellor was just about to give his answer. Suddenly, a massive blast of fire ripped right through the room. Suddenly, a dragon poked its head through the burnt-up wall right behind the Emperor. He just couldn't believe the insane stuff happening right in front of his face. That massive sky dragon looked exactly like Faye. It let out a massive roar and went totally wild, smashing everything in its way. The Emperor screams at the Chancellor to get the Dragon Knights and lock those sky dragons down right now. The Chancellor is down to help, but the sky dragons are straight up refusing to let anyone. Like the dragons even care. They've got super hearing, so they heard every single word whispered in the castle, and they were totally fuming at the Emperor for kicking out Raid and trying to kill. Faye took a steady breath and locked her sights right on the Emperor. He just crumpled to the floor and passed out cold. He watched as the sky dragons started firing off their breath attacks one after another. He was blown away that Raid was holding off those terrifying sky dragons solo, but he had to know what made them suddenly go totally berserk. Right then, Luna is zooming through the night sky with Raid riding on her back. She asked if he finally picked her as his partner since he's actually going to the Dragon Nation with her. Raid tells her he isn't a Dragon Knight, so there's no way he can partner with an ancient dragon, and Luna is just totally lost. She called him out for not making it official after he'd been leading her on since saving her 3 years ago, leaving Raid totally stunned by how cold that was. Taming is basically just taking total control of someone, and while most people can only tame what they're strong enough for, as he's actually taming this massive ancient dragon, a sudden memory hits him out of nowhere, and right then, it finally clicked just how bad he'd messed up. Luna was still totally crushed, asking him if he seriously forgot that he forced her into being tamed and bound her against her will, and she definitely wasn't wrong. Raid was just trying to heal her, but he accidentally kept Luna tamed for 3 whole years. Once you're tamed, you basically have to do whatever your master says. Raid felt terrible and apologized. He realized that even if he didn't mean it, he probably really hurt. Luna says no way, but she totally gets that being tamed is the only reason she's still alive. Plus, normal people can't handle an ancient dragon, so if a pro like him is the one taming her, she's actually totally cool with it. Plus, now that she's tamed, her flying skills go through the roof the second he hops on her back. She gets a massive power boost whenever he's nearby, so if that taming bond suddenly breaks and leaves her weak, she's going to be in big trouble. Then she straight up ordered him to He's gotta own up to keeping her tied down for 3 whole years. Ray nodded along, and before he even realized it, he was already making a wish. She flashed him a smile, but he felt this crazy pressure because he knew if he rejected her the wrong way, she'd look totally heartbroken again. Ancient dragons are all about strength, so that's definitely why she's okay with being tamed. Just keep telling yourself that until you actually believe it. Luna spun back around and flashed him a huge grin. She reached out her hand and welcomed him right into the Dragon Nation. That dragon locked its eyes right on Raid. One of them shouts the news that Princess Luna actually brought a human back with her. The dragons were all whispering because Luna already spilled the tea about Raid, and they started teasing her about how close they were until she got totally embarrassed. So the two of them walk into the cave where the Dragon King is staying, and the second he spots Raid, things get intense. He realized this guy was the dragon tamer's descendant and the hero who saved his daughter, so he gave him a massive welcome to the nation. This is Albarn, the Dragon King who rules this entire land, and Raid is literally shaking because his aura is just that intense. He drops to one knee to introduce himself, thanking Albarn for the protection, even though he knows the guy already knows the deal. And since he saved Luna and the Empire's sky dragons, alright, enough with the boring talk. He needs some serious rest, so Luna offers to show Raid the way to his new room. He didn't even flinch, just stared at Albarn's scales and straight up asked if he could touch them. Albarn was totally cool with it, so Raid stood up and reached out to touch his scales. He was healing everyone up, and Luna was totally blown away watching it all happen. Her dad's scales are finally starting to get their glow back. Albarn's scales were way duller than other elder dragons, so Raid guessed his magic flow was weak, and it turns out he was totally right. Albarn didn't get any time to rest his body because he was constantly on the move. He was super grateful to Raid, but Raid just shrugged it off like it was nothing, since he was officially looking after him now. Luna's jaw literally hit the floor seeing Raid heal an elder dragon like it was no big deal, and even though he acts like it's just a normal day for a dragon tamer, he's definitely loving the compliment. It was even worse since everyone back in the Empire called him a total paycheck stealer, and Luna was honestly shocked they'd be so heartless. Now she's 100% sure that the Empire has no idea how insanely strong Raid actually is. He's easily the best tamer around, so she couldn't believe they were so clueless, but Raid just laughed at her getting so fired up. He kept following her, slipping right past the dragon to stay on her tail. He's just chilling by the waterfall when he suddenly spots them. Raid's mind went straight to Faye and the sky dragons, wishing he could have given them a huge place like this. But then Luna stopped and showed him exactly where he'd be living. This wasn't just some cool treehouse. It was basically a whole village with tiny homes built all over the branches. Wait, are there actually other races living in this country besides just elder dragons? He scrambles up the ladder and spots the whole cat spirit tribe waiting right there. The cat spirit tribe is this mysterious race of beast folk that are basically half spirit, and while they can't cast spells, they use their magic power to give themselves insane physical strength. Raid thought these guys were totally wiped out, but it turns out they've been hiding here the whole time. One of the cat spirits spotted Luna and ran right over to say hi, but she froze the second she spotted Raid. She's totally losing it because she can't believe a real human is actually there. And she's super hyped when Luna finally introduces Raid, the guy she's heard so much about. Luna knew a dragon's nest was way too rough for a human to sleep in, so she decided Raid should move into the village starting today. The little cat spirit girl was totally cool with that. Actually, she was super hyped. She introduced herself as Rowana and immediately started calling Raid her big brother. Raid looked totally stunned, making Rowana worry that calling him big brother was a mistake, but he quickly told her it was totally cool and just caught him by surprise. So he shook her hand, totally hyped to be working with her from here on out. Rowana stared right at his hand and then gave it a quick sniff. Raid had a bad feeling that something was totally off. It wasn't even like that. She just smelled 100 different dragons on him because he was looking after all the sky dragons by himself, and Rowana thought he was a total beast. It's no wonder Luna's gotten so much stronger over the last 3 years, and trust me, she never stops talking about it. Raid was definitely thinking hard after hearing that, especially since, if Luna's gotten way stronger over the last 3 years, it's definitely because of Raid's taming, and now Rowana's thinking she'd get a massive power boost if he tamed her too. She asks to tag along so she can finally get stronger, but Raid just waves his hand, looking super unsure about it. He warned her that being tamed means she has to obey her master no matter what, but Rwanda didn't care because she could smell he was a good guy, and since cat spirits read people by, he's still not on board and wonders why she's so obsessed with getting strong. But Luna explains that a huge monster wave kicked the cat spirit tribe out of their home, forcing them to flee to the land of dragons just to stay alive. That's why Rwanda spends every single day training like a beast, because she's determined to get strong enough to take back her home. If there's a shortcut to getting super strong, she's obviously gonna grab it immediately because that's just how she's wired. Well, how a cat's wired anyway. He totally gets the situation, but even as a dragon tamer, there's no guarantee he can actually tame her, so she better keep that in mind. Though Rowana says if he can handle 100 dragons, she should be a total breeze, and hearing her say that just makes Raid want to crush this even more. Raid unleashed his power and a massive magic circle snapped open right under Rowana's feet. They both shut their eyes, just waiting for the perfect moment to make their move. They finally got their life energy perfectly in sync, and once they did, it was game on. Raid shouted the chant and sealed the contract, finally bringing her under his control. Suddenly, a glowing light shaped like a choker appeared right around Rwanda's neck. It vanished right as the taming finished, and Raid asked her how she was feeling. Rowana flexes her hands to check her new strength, and she can totally feel a massive wave of power building up inside her. She immediately went to test it out, heading straight for a branch that was as thick as Raid's arm. She just sliced it right in half with her bare hands like it was nothing. Raid looked like he was about to pass out from the shock, while Luna was just standing there with total proud mom energy. Rowana stared at her hand in total shock, realizing this crazy power was actually hers. She realized right then that Raid was definitely not just some regular guy. She asked him to train whenever he's free because she's totally obsessed with getting stronger. Cut to the Lazaria Empire, where things are heating up at the side palace. The Dragon Knights are complaining that ever since that day, the dragon won't listen to a single thing they say. If they don't move fast, those monsters are gonna break through and wipe everyone out. And the Emperor is seriously annoyed because he knows they're in deep trouble. The Chancellor tells everyone to act like Raid is still out there, since his body wasn't found anywhere in that pile of corpses. They need to hunt down the guy who ditched the Empire and use him to finally shut those sky dragons up. The Emperor was totally stunned by the absolute garbage this guy was spouting. There's no way he actually thinks Raid can just talk to sky dragons, right? The Chancellor snapped back that it's not about what they believe. The truth is, the dragons only went wild after Raid left with his skill, but they don't need to keep him around forever. They're just waiting to shut those sky dragons up and take back control so they can finally dump him. The Emperor finally cracked a smirk after hearing those words. He agreed to go find Raid, then told his guys to drag that lazy thief back and force him to work until he paid back every single cent. Even if it was just for show, Raid straight up made him bow his head. He's gonna take that guy's head just to settle the debt. As the days went by, Raid was finally starting to get the hang of his new life. He's pulling the same crazy move he did back in the Empire. He whipped up some potions to heal the dragon's injuries. or catching a nasty sickness just from fixing up a dragon's wound. A cat spirit thanked him since their tribe focuses on physical power and can't brew potions for the life of them. But Raid told them it was no big deal and just a small thanks for. Rowana flashed a massive smile, totally convinced the Dragon Nation was safe as long as Raid was around, and even though he laughed it off, it had been a long time since anyone actually gave him this. He finally flashed a real smile, realizing he wanted to stay in this place forever, and when Luna heard him whispering, she grabbed his hand and begged him to live there. One look at her pretty face, and they'll definitely be down to help him out. Raid shut his eyes and kept telling himself Luna is his partner, but he's actually thinking about just settling down here for good. Suddenly, a monster roars right in their ears. This is exactly what's stressing Luna out. Monsters are going totally wild lately, and massive ones are heading straight for the Dragon Nation. Raid's potions fix their scratches in a flash, but monsters getting this close to the Elder Dragons is totally unheard of, and Raid knows things are getting serious. He owes the Dragon Nation big time, so he's determined to go all out and help its people. So he's got a plan. He's going to tame every single giant monster in the area all by himself. Luna and Rwanda are totally stunned because he's acting like this impossible mission is actually a piece of cake. Even though they were nervous, the two followed Raid into the woods and peeked from behind a tree at a massive griffin. Luna asked Raid if he was actually serious about taming those giant monsters, while Rwana warned him that monsters are way harder to control than normal animals, especially griffins since their crazy magic just bounces taming spells right back. Raid flashed a cocky smirk and told them to stop stressing and just keep their eyes on him. He marched right toward the griffin, and the beast didn't even spot him until he was super close. But it's way too late because Raid already triggered his sealing art to blast. Find the body and stop it from flying away. Just like he did with Rwanda, he chanted the words and sealed a brand new contract. He's actually taming this massive griffin. It landed back on the ground and started rubbing its head right against his palm. Raiden showed the two of them his big win, and even after seeing it for themselves, they couldn't believe he tamed a griffin just like that. He's basically a legendary. Luna was totally blown away because Raid had actually tamed tons of griffins back during his training. Even legendary dragons struggle with monsters like that. So this guy is being totally reckless. But what's his plan now? Is he just gonna scare it away? Nope. Rwanda was totally confused and shouted, "So Raid's just gonna tell it to stop fighting the Dragon Nation and then leave it alone?" They were wondering why they even bothered taming the thing. So Raid explained that griffins mark their territory and other monsters are way too scared to go near it. If this griffin joins their side, it'll protect the whole area for them. So since it's gonna be living here, it definitely needs a name. How about Fawn? The griffin let out a massive roar like he was totally down for it. He zooms off, and now it's time to go and tame every huge monster around the Dragon Nation just like that. While just chilling between fights, Raid somehow tamed 20 massive monsters in only half a day. With them hanging around, the fear of other monsters invading the Dragon Nation was basically gone. The Dragon King hooked him up with a massive treasure and a monthly paycheck of 100 gold coins, making him insanely rich. Word spread fast that Raid was kicked out, and the people are totally panicking now that they know why monsters are suddenly creeping up on them. Those sky dragons they're forcing to fight with magic are finally hitting their breaking point, and since they're totally out of healing potions, it's clear this mess never would have happened if Raid was still around. Everyone's scrambling to replace Raid, hitting up every potion shop they can find, but nobody can brew anything that even comes close to his level. Back at the palace, the Emperor is the guy who actually ordered the hunt for Raid. He slammed his fist against his throne in a total rage, calling his men complete losers for failing to find Raid. Suddenly, a knight bursts in with a massive update. They finally found Raid, and some travelers say he's heading straight for the secret realm. The Emperor just smirked and told them to get the carriage ready because he's going to catch that salary thief himself. They're gonna rip every secret out of him, from dragon taming to making potions, and then find any excuse to finish him off for good. But Faye hears every word and lets out a... Luna heard that roar and immediately warned Raid that the Emperor and his squad were coming to hunt him down. It's for real, because the Empire's sky dragons just told them everything with their massive roars. Raid couldn't believe this Emperor's nerve, especially since the Empire has a huge deal with the ancient dragons to stay out of the secret realm. So is he really just going? Raid didn't want to drag Luna and the rest of the squad into any more drama. He decided to ditch the Dragon Nation while he still had the chance. But things were about to get crazy. Al Barn stopped him in his human form and told him he didn't have to carry that heavy burden alone since he's officially a part of this country now. Then he spun around to face everyone else who'd been listening the whole time. Rowana suddenly jumps out of the bushes and tells Raid she's got his back if things get messy. The dragons were totally down since they owed him big time for looking after them and keeping those monsters off their backs. Raid is the guy who saved Luna's life, so there's no way she's ditching him when he needs her most. It's a done deal. From now, they kicked him out whenever they wanted, and now they want him back. But he's about to show them that they've finally crossed the line. Raid's blushing because he's super grateful for everyone's help. But meanwhile, the Emperor and his dragon knights are already charging toward the secret realm. The Chancellor stares out his carriage window, worried sick because those sky dragons were totally wild yesterday. But now, they're suddenly obeying the knight's magic, and he just knows something is seriously wrong. The Emperor just smirked while looking for Raid, thinking about how he's gonna get some serious payback for being pushed this far. Out of nowhere, their carriage started shaking like crazy as a whole pack of griffins dived down to attack. They kept smashing the carriage until the ground underneath it started to split apart, sending the whole carriage crashing right off the edge of the cliff. That wimpy Emperor screamed for the Dragon Knights to save him, but they were totally stuck because those griffins were blocking their path. The carriage goes flying off the cliff and smashes into the dirt, and while Raid watches from way up on Luna's back, he's low-key panicking that they just ended the Emperor. Then, she finally touched back down on the ground. He stalks toward the smashed carriage like a beast on the hunt. Somehow the Emperor is still alive. And seriously, how is this guy still breathing after getting blasted by a dragon and falling off a cliff? He scrambled out of the carriage and got right back on his feet. He apologized the moment he saw Raid, but then he demanded that Raid come back to the Empire with him. Raid shut it down instantly, not even needing a second to think about it. There's no way he'd forget how the Emperor did him dirty and kicked him out for nothing. Since they're already at it, he's gonna tell him straight up that he's never working for him again, no matter how much he tries to sugarcoat it. Not now, and not ever. The Emperor was so mad he was literally grinding his teeth and ordered the Dragon Knights to take Raid out for good. The Elder Dragons are losing their minds because he's actually forcing the Sky Dragons to attack Raid, proving just how twisted this Emperor really is. But don't worry, they're about to save the Sky Dragons. They fly straight at the enemies, snatching the Dragon Knights and chucking them right off the dragons' backs. Just like that, the magic controlling the dragons finally snapped. Then the Sky Dragons swooped in to join the rest of the squad. They're totally closing in on the Emperor from all sides. The Emperor was literally crying in fear, but he still had the nerve to order Raid to stop those dragons, even though saying no would count as total treason. Raid just smirked like he didn't have a clue, reminding everyone that since he was kicked out of the Empire, he wasn't even their citizen anymore, which made the deal. Luna was so mad she shattered the ground with a single flick of her tail, totally terrifying that wimpy Emperor. Raid told Luna he was totally fine and told her to chill out, and she actually listened. The Emperor was totally shocked to see a legendary ancient dragon actually chill out just from hearing Raid speak. Since he can actually talk to dragons, The Emperor orders Raid to make every dragon here follow the Dragon Knight's lead and save the Empire. He threatened that if Raid didn't make the dragons listen, the monsters would rip the citizens to shreds, leaving Raid totally stuck because he didn't want to follow orders, but couldn't. He looked over at Faye and the squad to see what they thought, and they're totally down to keep protecting humans since that's all they've ever known. But they're totally done following that trash Emperor. Raid couldn't help but smile at them. It's honestly so sweet that they still want to protect humans. But if things don't... Thinking about that, Raid came up with a plan. He's laying out a plan to fix how the sky dragons are treated, and the Emperor has to agree to every single word. Plus, he's got to swear to leave Raid alone and stay away from the secret realm. But the Emperor just laughs in his face and asks why he'd ever take orders from a total loser who's just stealing a paycheck. The second he stopped talking, a massive beam of light blasted right past him. It smashed a hole right into the ground, barely missing him by a hair. The Emperor hit the floor shaking with fear and totally wet himself. He's shaking as Albarn walks up in his human form. And since only one silver ancient dragon can look like a person, he's thinking there's no way it's... Albarn made it official and revealed he's the Dragon King, explaining that he had a deal with the Divine Dragon Empire long ago. But this fat guy broke the promise and sent his ooh. If Raid hadn't stepped in to stop him, he'd be nothing but a pile of dust right now. The Emperor was straight up sobbing because he was absolutely terrified. Everything would be totally different if he hadn't just kicked Raid out. Right after that, Raid stepped in and made the Emperor and the Sky Dragons sign a deal to finally treat them way better. The new rules meant fewer painful breath attacks and way more snacks and breaks, so Raid gave Luna a huge thanks for having his back. Everything got fixed pretty easily thanks to her and the whole Dragon Nation squad. Luna told him it was no biggie and that he should stop being so weirdly formal. Rowana actually tried to jump into. If that Emperor caught a glimpse of those rare cat spirits, things would have turned into a total disaster. So it's a huge relief Rowana and the gang stayed hidden. Just like that, the Empire is finally off Raid's back, and his brand new life is officially starting. Meanwhile, over in the kingdom next door, the fight was already breaking out. Suddenly, this totally mysterious girl shows up. He's sprinting like crazy, gasping for air as he ducks into a dark alley. Just north of the Dragon Nation is the kingdom of Igel. And since they're super close to the capital, Raid tells Luna they should land and walk the rest of the way so they don't. If word gets out about the ancient dragons or the catfolk, everyone is seriously gonna freak out. Luna got the message and touched down in the snowy woods, shifting right back into her human form. Out of nowhere, she lets out a sneeze, realizing it's way colder than she thought it'd be. Raid handed her a spare coat he'd managed to borrow from the catfolk. Luna threw it on and thanked him, finally feeling way warmer, and it's already been a few days since the Emperor's crazy attack. Now they're heading to Falca, the capital of the Eagle Kingdom, to grab potion ingredients while Rowana leads the way, totally hyped up. Luna had to tell her to chill out before she went overboard, since they were only there to protect Raid as his tamed beast guards. They weren't doing this because they actually wanted to hang out with him. Just looking at her face, you could tell she was the only one hyped for this. They kept walking until they finally reached. They finally stepped into the royal capital of Falca, and man, this place was absolutely buzzing. Rowana freaked out seeing bird monsters everywhere, but Raid told her it's all good since these Simurgs actually serve the kingdom of Igel and have super thick feathers to survive the freezing cold. Rowana is totally blown away by how much he knows, but to him, it's whatever. He just picked it up while working here back when he was in the Empire. Out of nowhere, Luna's stomach let out a massive growl, making her turn bright red and apologize because those meat skewers smelled way too good to ignore. She's gotta be totally wiped out after flying for that long. Raid heads over to the food stall and snags 3 skewers of that marinated boar meat. He grabbed the items, rushed back, and handed one to both Luna and Rowana. Luna slowly took a super careful bite of the piece, and he was actually shocked by how amazing it tasted. They definitely don't have food like this back in the Dragon Nation, and Rowana is just crushing that skewer in total silence because she clearly loves it. After finishing those skewers, they hit the market to wrap up their shopping before the sun went down. They hit up every stall in sight to grab all the gear they needed. They ended up with a massive haul of stuff, right as they were about to walk past a dark alley. This mysterious girl crashes right into Raid, and even with her cloak on, he catches a glimpse of her pointy ears. Could she actually be an elf? She's even got a slave collar locked around her neck. In the Igel Kingdom, they turn serious criminals into slaves, so you have to wonder what this girl could have possibly done. Shaking like crazy, the girl put her hands together and begged them to hide her. Before they could even react, a bunch of guys jumped out of the alley to grab the girl. Luna asks for some backup, and Ray is totally down for it. Let's be real, giving her up is just gonna end in a total disaster anyway. He unleashed his mana and dropped a magic circle, taming the Simurgs and ordering them to chase those guys away. The Simurgs charged right at the three guys, leaving them totally helpless as Raid and his crew made a run for it. Raid books it out of there and cuts his control over the Simurgs, making sure there's zero proof he was ever the one pulling the strings. The girl was totally blown away because she didn't know Dragon Knights could control other stuff too. But Raid just looked super confused. The girl just dropped a bombshell that Luna is an ancient dragon, which would mean Raid is a legendary Dragon Knight. Raid was totally caught off guard, wondering if her race's crazy intuition. But he's not some epic Dragon Knight. He's actually just the guy who takes care of them. Once they find a safe place to hide, the girl explains she tracked him down because she heard that whenever things get messy, a Dragon Knight is the only one you can really trust. She introduces herself as Milfy, and even though everyone thinks she's an elf, she's actually a legit water spirit. Raid thought spirits were totally extinct just like the cat people, so Milfy pouted at his doubt and decided to show him some real proof. She reached her hands out, totally ready for what was coming. Water literally just starts pouring out without even needing a magic circle, proving this isn't just sorcery, it's straight-up magic. Taming things with sorcery takes mana and a magic circle that acts like a blueprint. Every time you cast it, you end up wasting some of that energy. Real magic is way better. Basically, since Milfy can use magic, it proves she's a legit spirit. Raid said sorry for the late start and finally introduced himself, Luna, and Rowana. He asked her how a spirit like her even ended up as a slave in the Igel Kingdom. Milfy revealed that those same thugs snatched her up a year ago, which is exactly how she got stuck with that slave collar. She was snatched up as a slave, but managed to escape and run right into them, and it totally makes sense they'd target her since spirits are so rare. Rowana gave Milfy a quick sniff to see if she was a threat, but since she didn't have any bad vibes and felt totally pure, she knew it was safe to help her out. Raid suggests hiding Milfy in the Dragon Nation, and since they'll be flying on Luna, those guys won't be able to catch them. Luna's totally down for. Milfy was low-key listening the whole time and finally spoke up, saying she really wanted to tag along with them. Even if she finally comes back, there's literally no one left for her anymore. They can totally do it, but that slave collar is a massive problem since she's forced to obey her master. Though Raid tells them it's all good because he's already got a plan. He's stressing that Milfy might hate the plan, but she tells him she's down for whatever it takes just to get that collar off. Raid decides to handle it himself, letting his mana explode as he summons a magic circle to finally tame Milfy. Taming and slave collars are basically the same thing since they both force you to follow every single order, and they work almost exactly the same way. If he uses magic that's way stronger than that slave collar, he'll basically override the old master and make himself Milfy's new boss. Sparks started flying right off of Milfy's collar. Raid's getting shoved back, and is he seriously out of mana already? No freaking way! He threw his hands up again, totally set on taming Milfy, because compared to taming an ancient dragon, this was going to be a piece of cake. A basic slave collar like that is absolutely nothing to him. After a few more sparks fly off, the line finally went dead. Now she's wearing a choker that marks her as just another one of Raid's tamed beasts, right as Milfy finally thought she could breathe easy. The guys chasing her finally caught up to them. He catches their voices coming from right nearby. Raid tells Luna to grab Rowana and Milfy and run while he stays behind to hold them off. Luna shut that down and said they should just fly away right now. Suddenly, she shifts into her dragon form, and even though they're definitely gonna get spotted, they've got no other choice right now. A massive crowd started swarming them because there's no way anyone was going to miss a giant dragon standing right there. Those three guys spotted them and started sprinting right after them. Raid snatched Milfy and bolted toward Luna while Rowana grabbed a massive log. They finally hopped onto Luna's back and blasted off into the sky. Once they finally got away, Raid breathed a huge sigh of relief since the shopping was done, and they'd actually managed to save Milfy too. He's stressing that the Dragon King might be mad they brought Milfy along, but Luna just laughs it off, saying her dad is a total softie who always helps people in need. She's totally sure he'll be cool with Milfy since they're both from different races. Even though they finally escaped, Milfy was looking pretty depressed. She was super kina. Everyone starts out as a total weakling, so she's just gotta level up and get stronger from here. Even a regular dragon keeper like him is stepping up to have her back. Milfy thanked him for finally ditching that collar and hooking her up with some mana. Oh, I almost forgot. Raid still hasn't released the tame, but Milfy stops him from doing it because she actually loves how good all that extra mana feels. If that's the case, he's just gonna leave everything exactly the way it is. Suddenly, Luna shouts to Raid that a massive wave of monsters is heading straight for the Dragon Nation. These ancient dragons are roaring out the news, and word is their leader is actually one of the Demon King's 4 heavenly generals. These guys are the ultimate elite demons who take orders straight from the Demon King himself. They used to tear through the whole continent with their boss, leaving nothing but ruins behind. Raid was totally shocked too. Luna tells him her dad Albarn thinks all these monster attacks mean the Demon King is coming back, and Raid was just about to say something. Suddenly, he felt a super scary energy lurking right behind his back, and saw Rwanda looking absolutely furious. She insisted on coming along to save everyone in danger, while Milfy made it clear she was sticking right by Raid's side. Ray's totally torn because leaving her with the cat folk seems safe, but he knows he can only really protect her if she stays right by his side. Luna sees he's totally stressing, so she suggests they sneak around the back to scope things out. And honestly, he's just so glad she's there to back him up. And that's exactly what they did, scouting the whole area from the air while Raid scoped things out with his binoculars. He wanted a better look at the endless monsters fighting the dragons, especially the woman leading the charge. She introduces herself as Al, the Blazing Flame, one of the Demon King's 4 elite generals. She demanded they hand over that stolen water spirit from Igel right now, promising to make their deaths quick and painless if they just cooperated. Milfy's face went totally dark the second she realized she was the one they were actually after. But it's all good, because Ale hasn't even spotted them yet. Raid's gonna trap her with a long-range seal so Luna can blast her with her breath, and he just smirks while firing up a magic circle to get the party started. We jump over to Raid's place where everyone is just vibing, but Rowana thinks this is way too boring for one of the Demon King's top generals. Milfy was all in, and with Raid's chains and Luna's breath, the fight was over in a blink, which actually sucked for Milfy because she really wanted to jump in, but Luna knew they only wiped out the whole monster mob because they caught them totally off guard. Rowana asks what the plan is for Ailey, so Raid says they're keeping her stuck to the ceiling with magic because who knows what kind of chaos she'd cause if they let her go. Wait, they aren't actually planning to sleep in his room, right? Especially Luna, who just ignores him and keeps clinging to his arm, claiming she's only doing it to keep things safe. Rowana just yawned and asked what the big deal was, but Raid could only sigh, keeping his bad feeling to himself about how weird things felt when they locked Ailey in that cell. Honestly, this is way too much for any guy to handle, and Ray can't even think about sleeping with Luna pressing right up against his arm, so he begs the others to finally talk to her. But it's too late. They're already totally passed out for the night. Poor Raid. It looks like he's definitely not getting any sleep tonight. Back at the cell, a dark reaper shatters the chains to set Ale free. The chains snapped, alerting the whole raid and snapping him wide awake. Luna snapped awake the second he moved, while Rowana's sharp instincts told her something was seriously wrong. They rushed outside and saw smoke rising coming straight from the spot where Al was being held captive. She actually broke loose, so the crew has to bail and leave Milfy behind with Rowana. This all went down while they were booking it. The Dark Reapers lunged at them, so Raid used his sealing art to trap them in chains. The second they hit the ground, he finally noticed the slave collars around their necks. Al was a total beast, torching every single thing in her way. She laughed as she walked right up to them, shouting that she was finally back. Raid finally puts it all together. She made the Dark Reaper drop his sealing spell and just walked right past him, even though dodging those ancient guardian dragons was a total mission. She totally scorched them with her fire, but hearing that made Luna snap and transform straight into her dragon form. She's charging up her dragon breath to make Ale pay for torching their homes and hurting her family. Ale just casually raises her hand and traps Luna inside a massive dome. Luna tried to blast her way out by unleashing her dragon breath, but it totally failed, and Ailey just laughed at her terrified face because no matter how hard she struggles, this fire prison won't let any magic out. Raid's starting to get pretty nervous because Ailey just blocked Luna's breath with a firewall without even using a magic circle. Even after getting jumped, this Demon King General is no joke. So Ailey flies up and blasts Raid with fire, and now it's finally his turn to strike back. He's gonna seriously regret tying her up once she roasts him alive with her massive flames. Luna called out to Raid, sounding super worried, who used his sealing art to totally crush the fire. He smirked at Aile's shocked face, knowing these dragon tamer arts are so powerful they can control ancient dragons and completely shut down any kind of magic. Aile just smirked and turned her fire into a sword ready to hit him back with the same insane power. Raid waited for her to show up, and even though Aile had way more mana, his sealing arts were the perfect counter to her magic. Now he's gonna end it all in one shot with his ultimate move. And he pours every single drop of his magic power into it. He switches to his sealing arts and unleashes his secret technique, Soten Kagutsuchi. Ailey lunged forward and tried to smash the chain. Her fire was getting sucked right up, and Raid finally caught her, wrapping her up tight in his chains. That move he just pulled off is an ultimate secret technique made for fire dragons, and it turns out it totally wrecks demons too. He shouted at Ale to just give up and surrender. But she wasn't having any of it. She's trying to overpower Soten Kagutsuchi with raw magic, but Raid yells for her to stop before she fries her mana and blows herself up, since he doesn't actually want her dead. She'd way rather do this than let her enemy control her all over again. Raid charges straight at her, saying sorry because he's gotta end this before she literally explodes. He wrapped the chains tight around his knuckles and lifted his fist, ready to throw down, and slams a massive punch right into her stomach. He's pulling out the Divine Dragon Empire's legendary Dragon Knight moves, the piercing dragon style. Ale gets hit so hard he's out cold! And they just drop straight to the floor. Luna rushed over to check if Raid was okay, and then the two of them hauled the knocked-out Ale into the cave. He slapped a taming spell on top of those chains so she couldn't fight back, and the second Ale woke up, Raid ordered her to stop the violence, tell the truth, and most, but he didn't say a single word. Ale's face shifted into that look your dad loved most, and as those invisible chains held her down, she felt something crazy waking up inside her. Yeah, she's definitely into this. She looked at Raid, convinced the taming story was just a cover, and since she was forced to obey him now, she asked what he actually wanted from her. He can do whatever he wants with her, but he's crazy if he thinks he can control her heart. Raid just let out a huge sigh, remembering she was exactly like this the first time. She's being a total bad influence on Rowana and Milfi, and it's nothing like how she acts when she's actually in a fight. This terrifying energy starts swirling all around Luna, and man, she is absolutely fuming right now. She warned Ailey to stop hitting on her man, or she'd seriously regret it, and while Ailey panicked and promised to stop, she secretly thinks that since she's a succubus, suddenly, Milfi splashes Ale with water, swearing she'll get even with this giant fire lady for forcing that slave collar on her. But wait, she's not finished. She was just about to strike again when Raid stepped in because he still needs answers from Ayla, so he decides to tame her instead of just sealing her away. Milfi finally chills out and says she'll forgive Ale as long as she's Raid's slave, making Raid sigh in relief while he clarifies that Ale is just Tam. Water is her ultimate weakness, so she only focused on not getting sealed away again, which totally shocked Milfi since she's a princess who had no clue about any of this. Her childhood memories. But wait, Raid is just as insane because his sealing art is strong enough to totally snuff out Ale's flames, and she's feeling pretty pathetic for getting wrecked by the same guy twice. He's gotta be a descendant of the Imperial Dragon Knights, the same heroes who locked up the Demon King. Back in the day, these legends rode divine dragons to seal the Demon King, but Raid's parents never told him a thing, so he's probably just as clueless as Milfi. That might be true, but Raid's got way more important stuff to ask her right now about these wild monsters and the Demon King, A.L. Scaft. Though it's not like she's just gonna spill the beans that easily. Her mouth literally started moving on its own, and she blurted out every single thing she knew. She let out a heavy sigh as everything finally clicked for her. Aliet explains that the monsters are going wild because the Demon King's old seal is finally breaking, and his presence is waking them all up. Raid asked where the sealed Demon King was hidden, but A.L. didn't have a single clue. If she actually knew, she would have been there by now. The Demon King that the Imperial Dragon Knights sealed away has completely vanished, even though back in the day he was powerful enough to almost rule the entire continent. With the Demon King waking up, they gotta find his seal and lock him back down before the demons get there. And even though Al is clueless about the other generals, she knows 2 were wiped out ages ago, leaving only 1 left besides her. Luna thought this was great news because if Ale is the only powerhouse left, they can totally handle him if they strike now. Yeah, right. The last of the 4 heavenly generals is a beast who's actually as strong as the Demon King himself. If this guy shows up, even that legendary dragon nation is toast. They decided to track down the Demon King's sealing hideout. Luna was totally down, and they're even asking the ancient dragons to help them find it. Raid says sorry for leaning on Luna so much, but she just laughs it off since he saved her and the whole dragon nation, making them totally even right before Rowana pipes up to apologize. She wants Raid to head over to the catfolk homeland because there's someone there who really needs his help. Cut to Raid and the squad soaring through the sky on the backs of Luna and another dragon. Malaria, the catfolk, is just chilling at the back of the Raid. She gives him a deep bow to thank him for making sure she got home safe. Don't even bother thanking him, because Ray only did that since he totally gets what it's like to look out for your family. Malaria was feeling pretty crushed because she couldn't convince her grandpa, the village elder, all by herself. Once they tamed Ale, Malaria told them she's on a mission to get her clan's ancient sword back so she can protect her home from invaders. Once they finally talked the grumpy Bayuse chief into letting her return, the group headed out to take back the cat spirit homeland from the demon clan. Malaria looked back at the dragon, totally blown away that such a legendary squad had actually teamed up, and even Raid and the guys were shocked that Gallard was tagging along. Gallard reminds them he's the Dragon Princess Luna's guard, so he's not about to mess up and they should just stop worrying. Oily just laughed it off, thinking big talkers are always the first to get wrecked, but Milfy jumped in to warn her that Gallard is like a big brother to the ancient dragons, so Ale is actually the one who needs to watch her back. That completely set Ale off, but Raid just ignored the arguing and asked Malaria for the lowdown on the Guardian Sword. Legend says this blade once took down a massive demon, and it's been passed down through the Buse clan's top family for generations. Out of nowhere, a massive swarm of kobolds, minotaurs, and a giant three-headed hydra raided the village, so they didn't even have a second to grab the Guardian Sword. They slammed right back down onto the solid ground. They show up only to find the Cat Spirit Tribe's village completely smashed to bits. The whole scene was a total nightmare. Malaria was totally down, especially since the Elder and the rest of the crew have basically lost all hope of ever going back home. But then, monsters raided her village, and after her parents died saving her, she swore she'd take back their legendary sword and their home so her people could finally return with their heads held high. Now they can finally live in this village, which is just as epic as the Land of Dragons, without ever having to worry about monsters again. She's dying to get back home with the whole squad. She's getting that Guardian Sword back no matter what. And Raid just nodded because he's totally on board. He asks where the Guardian Sword is, and it's hidden in a massive cave right under the chief's house. But suddenly Luna stops dead because she smells something weird. She and Gallard saw them too and threw their wings out to shield the whole squad because the demons are finally here. A massive blast of fire shot right at them, but the two dragons jumped in just in time to block it. This demon dude was losing his mind that dragon wings could actually tank his fire. The girl totally saw them coming thanks to Lord Vazal's warning. Ale's jaw literally hit the floor. He quickly warned Raid that those two worked directly for Vazal, one of the Demon King's elite 4 generals. Raid remembers that Vazal is a total beast who can actually go toe-to-toe with the Demon King, and these guys are his lackeys. The demon girl recognizes Ile. Hold up, what is she even doing with these guys? Wait, did she seriously get captured and taken prisoner? Oily's sweating bullets and ducking behind Raid without saying a word, making him seriously wonder if she's actually one of the Demon King's elite generals. Milfy spoke up, and both demons immediately turned their heads toward her. They realized she was a water spirit and were shocked anyone survived, but Milfy ignored them because she just heard that Vassel sent monsters to her home, proving he's the one who... The demon girl just smirked and told her she was right, since this clan is actually strong enough to seal away Ale, one of the Demon King's top 4 generals, which totally made Milfy grit her teeth. He kept muttering that this was totally unforgivable as Raid backed away and hid his hand, while a super angry Milfy started gathering water for an attack. That demon guy just smirked and started charging up his magic. Meet Gorus of the Demon Fire, a henchman for one of the Demon King's top generals who has orders from Lord Vassal to fry anyone trying to steal the sword, except for the Cat Spirit Tribe. The green wind girl next to him is super sleepy and wants to wrap this up fast so she can finally take a nap. Their mana is so insane it actually puts your average dragon to shame. Luckily, Raid came ready for a fight and instantly dropped a magic circle. His binding chains whipped out right behind the two demons. Gora starts yelling about how cheap that sneak attack was, but Raid isn't taking any risks after what he learned from catching Igel. Even against a demon, if he traps them with his sealing arts before they can use magic, it's game over instantly. So he tells Malaria to grab the Guardian Sword right now before more monsters show up. Right on cue, a three-headed Hydra and a massive army of monsters popped out of nowhere. Is it already too late? If they get stuck here, this fight is never gonna end. Raid tells Gallard and AL to grab Malaria and the crew to go snag the Guardian Sword, and even though AL's body is moving on its own again, they both head out. But before they dipped, they fired off a massive attack to clear the way. Rowana and Malaria couldn't bring themselves to leave, constantly glancing back at Raid. He left them the Guardian Sword and promised they'd finally escape once they got their hands on it. The duo finally bolted to find the Guardian Sword with Gallard and AL, and once they were alone, Raid looked at Milfy, wishing she could come along, but it was impossible because Gora just laughed, saying Raid's sealing move is the real deal, but it's a total waste since he's way too powerful to be caught by it. One line out. The input was one paragraph. I will provide one paragraph. Self-correction. The input is, Luna was shocked to see him breaking the chains. Grass slams onto the floor, but he's still got that smug grin on his face. That little water spirit is actually pretty tough, don't you think? Raid whips out even more chains to tie Garrus up, and Garrus is totally shocked that he can still summon more. To make things even crazier, these chains are a perfect match for that guy's, proving Sill's hunch was totally right. But wait, wasn't Vassel supposed to have? Before they could even say a word, the Hydra lunged right at him. Talking's gonna have to wait, because Raid just used his sealing art to lock the Hydra down with chains. Luna stepped in and finished the job with a massive blast of dragon breath. The Hydra is finally toast, but since the place is still crawling with monsters, Luna says they need to wipe them out and Ray is totally down. He used his sealing arts to trap those monsters right where they stood, while Milfy steps in to finish the job for good. They teamed up and jumped straight into the fight together, until they finally took down every last one of those monsters. Luna realized Raid could use martial arts too. She already knew he was a beast after seeing him fight the other day. It turns out he spent a ton of time watching the Dragon Knights train. Out of nowhere, a guy in a cloak shows up and snaps Gore's and Sill's chains right off. Raid stumbled back, totally unable to believe his eyes. His ultimate sealing art was totally smashed to pieces, and he couldn't believe his eyes. Graz started complaining, asking why the guy in the cloak took so long to show up. He was seriously sweating bullets and thought they were totally finished. That guy Fantorlus let them all know that the Menacial release was finally finished. He turned to Raid, realized he was a sealing art user, and knew right then that this guy was as dangerous as it gets. Fantorlus vanished into thin air and instantly popped up right in Raid's face. He swings his sword with everything he's got. Raid barely managed to dodge at the very last second, and man, that was way too close. Fantorlus raised his sword again, gearing up for another big strike. Raid totally lost his focus the second he recognized that fighting stance. Fantorlus saw his opening and lunged straight ahead. He unleashes his Dark Fang piercing blade move, using his sword to finish Raid off for good. He spots Raid in a massive jam. Luna charges in and slams into Ventureless's shoulder to knock him back and snatch Raid away. He couldn't take his eyes off Fantorlus, still thinking about that insane move he just pulled off. Raid's never heard a move called that, and even with the demonic twist, it feels way too familiar. Could this be Fantorlus's secret sword style? That right there is the legendary Divine Dragon Empire style. But hold up. Why is a demon even able to use that? Fantorlus didn't say a word and just got right back into his fighting stance. Raid gets his guard up fast because Fantorlus is a total beast at fighting up close, and is way too dangerous to mess with. The vibe got super intense as they both just stared each other down. He's reading every single move before it even happens. Fantorla saw what Raid's sealing art could do, so he ditched his sword and warped right behind Goros and Syl. He knew they had to tell Vassel immediately, and he realized the three of them were trying to make a run for it. Luna fired off a blast of dragon breath while Raid demanded they start talking. They dodged Luna's attacks like pros and made a clean getaway. Goros looks back and warns Raid that next time they meet, he's finishing the job Vassel failed at and wiping out the Imperial Dragon Knight bloodline for good. Luna asks if they should chase them, but Raid says no way. They need to go find Rowana and the rest of the squad instead. The second Raid caught up with the group. He started grilling Ailey about everything those three guys had told him. Ale says this clan is the only one that can seal the Demon King, making them the demon's worst nightmare, so it's no wonder Vassel wants to take them all out. Raid tries to speak, but she shuts him down, calling him out for wanting to claim he's been a dragon caretaker for ages when the truth is actually the total opposite. He didn't become a dragon caretaker because he's some kind of animal expert. It's actually because his sealing arts are so powerful they can literally force a dragon to obey. Skills can totally change if you train like crazy or switch up your life. And his whole clan was basically finished when Vassel hunted them down. His magic and those sealing arts look exactly like the Imperial Dragon Knights, so there's no doubt he's one of their descendants. If those 6 followers saw his sealing art and said it's legit, then there's absolutely no mistake. But here's the real kicker. The last 4 heavenly generals are finally making their move. The Demon King is about to wake up any second, and monsters everywhere are starting to go absolutely wild. It's like meeting Luna and the rest of the squad was actually meant to be. Raid and Luna look at each other, their eyes wide with total shock. So, is he really destined to take down the Demon King with Luna? Ailey just shrugs like, who knows? Honestly, since she's the demon's girl, she'd Malaria was gasping for air and told them to wait up, because she and Rowana were also struggling big time. Luna's super annoyed because this barrier only breaks for the cat spirit tribe, and while she's dying to just blast it away, Raid warns her that her power would literally cave in the whole ceiling. He stopped for a split second to think. He's straight up asking Rwanda for her hand in marriage. She followed his lead without even thinking, and instantly she felt a massive wave of power surging through her. Raid pumped his magic right into Rwanda and told him to boost it for 10 seconds to blow that barrier apart. Rowana did exactly what he said and smashed the barrier to pieces with one massive punch. She actually pulled it off, and now they can finally see what's waiting on the other side of that barrier. They walk into the cave and see a sword jammed right in the center of a spring. Was that actually the Guardian sword? Ale flew over to get a closer look and was completely blown away by what she found. This is the legendary holy sword the Imperial Dragon Knight used to go head-to-head with the Demon King. The Holy Dragon Imperial Sword, Re-Eden. Everything finally clicked, and she realized those 6 followers were just waiting for the cat spirit tribe to come back for the sword. Raid's totally on board because his water spirit clan can seal away Ale, one of the 4 big generals. Plus, his people have the secret magic to trap the Demon King and the Cat Tribe. Vassel is hunting down every clan that could stop the Demon King's return, moving like a total pro, while Rowana is stuck wondering why such a legendary sword was even in their Ale just remembered that right before the Imperial Dragon Knight vanished, there were rumors about a cat-eared girl in his squad, and it hit her. That girl wasn't a beastkin at all. She was actually part of the cat spirit tribe. Malaria dove into the spring to snag the Guardian sword, finishing Ale's story by explaining that's exactly how the village kept it safe. Her parents told her this sword was made to wipe out evil, but she had no clue it was actually this insane. Malaria grabbed the sword and held it high, letting out a blinding light that totally lit up the dark cave. With this insane magic, Raid could actually one-shot the Hydra in a single swing. They had to tell the Dragon King everything, and as soon as he heard the news, he called an emergency meeting to get the kingdom ready for a demon attack. Luna asked if Raid was skipping the meeting, and he just told her he's letting the ancient dragons handle all the boring, heavy talk. And just like that, they finally made it to the spot where the cat spirit tribe was staying. The elder welcomed them back, relieved everyone was safe. But then he spotted the guardian sword in Malaria's hands and was totally shocked they actually pulled off the impossible. Malaria says the only reason they pulled it off was because they all worked together as a team. Plus, the elder heard her story and let her come back home, explaining that the guardian sword is basically a god to the whole cat spirit tribe. He and the whole tribe bowed down, swearing they'd spend the rest of their lives paying them back for such a huge favor. Next, he set his sights right on Malaria. He gave her major props for an awesome job, and the whole cat tribe started cheering and chanting Malaria's name to thank them. Tonight's a massive party because they finally got the guardian sword back, and they've cooked up a ton of delicious meat to celebrate. Every single warrior from the legendary cat spirit tribe, the ancient dragons and the Raids gang all got together for a massive celebration. They stuffed their faces with some amazing food and crashed out with huge smiles on their faces. Raid was seriously hyped that he actually moved to this country. At the same time, Garas, Syl, and Fantorlus headed back to give Vassel the full report. The Imperial Dragon Knight's bloodline is actually still alive! Back in the Dragon Nation, Gallard started bragging to the other elders about how Luna didn't back down an inch against the demons in the Catfolk land, and he hyped them all up to give it everything they've got too. One dragon swore those demons would pay for touching Luna, while another was fuming that they'd even try to fight Raid, her partner, or actually, her future husband. And Luna, she totally hides her face from embarrassment, and while Gallard loves the energy, he's super confused about her calling Raid her husband. They're acting so close that he's wondering if he actually got it wrong. Raid kept talking about how they were different species, but Gallard just sighed since none of that matters now. Plus, since Luna can turn into a human now, nothing's stopping them from getting close. But Malaria shut him up by chucking a massive log right at him. They told him to cut it out since kids were listening, while Rowana just sprinted over to give Raid a massive hug. Raid hugged her back and wondered why they were even there. But it was just a normal report since the catfolk are also helping guard the Dragon Kingdom. Raid got the message. As long as things stay peaceful, that's all he really cares about. Rwanda promised him it'd be totally fine and that they'd have his back no matter what happened. They all just gave her a warm smile while Raid patted her head, thinking she was totally adorable. Right then, a dragon tells Luna that their allies sensed a massive surge of magic in a nearby land that feels just like that sealing arts raid. So she immediately asks where it's coming from. The dragon finally answers and tells him they're in the middle of the massive Walrens forest. This is the exact spot where Raid and Luna first met. But since she didn't feel any magic back then, the Demon King might be sealed in the woods leaking power, so they've gotta. They soared through the air, heading straight for the Walrens' massive forest. He's leaving the whole Dragon Nation in the hands of the Cat Spirit tribe. Luna saw Raid walking with total confidence and realized he knew exactly where to go, thanks to a training spot his dad told him about back in the Divine Dragon Empire. Since monsters never show up there, he figured it'd be the perfect home base. And while Luna agreed that a safe spot is a total lifesaver, Malaria was still wondering why they were meh. Why didn't he just train while looking after the sky dragons? Raid scratched his cheek, looking super awkward, and admitted he just never felt like he fit in there. He was stuck just grinding at work since he couldn't risk doing anything else in public. Man, it looks like he's been through some serious struggle too. Raid noticed the holy sword was starting to buzz like crazy. The sword's magic is way calmer now than when they first found it, and Ale says it's just saving its energy for a real emergency, but using that power is all up. Malaria looked super annoyed and pulled out the catfolk's sword since Ale said Raid's bloodline lets him use it, meaning she needed to stop acting like she was just testing him, Raid. With two ancient dragons hanging around, every other monster is way too scared to come near. Raid didn't even notice a thing until right this second. Maybe the sealed Demon King is the real reason this forest is crawling with monsters. And if Ale's story is legit, his clan probably used this place as a training ground to guard the seal and prep for a massive fight. Raid turns back when Luna calls his name, and she's totally blown away that the spot where they first met is the same place the Demon King is sealed. It's like this whole thing was totally meant to happen. Raid took the lead as the group pushed even deeper into the forest. He tells them they're almost there, but Malaria is totally confused because it doesn't look like a destination to her at all. They step into the clearing and find a massive stone pillar towering right over the middle of a spring. Luna asked Raid what that thing even was, since she could feel some seriously weird magic coming from it. That's the heart of the shield protecting this training ground, and it's built specifically to keep all the monsters out. Raid splashed into the water and started heading right for the giant monolith. Feeling the memories hit him, he pulls out a cloth and starts wiping down the treasure his family has protected for generations, just like he used to do with his dad. Out of nowhere, the giant stone started glowing like crazy and totally caught the whole team off guard. Luna walks up to ask about the weird flickering, but Raid has no clue since he's never seen it glow like that. When suddenly, a scream echoes from right behind them. Raid turns to Malaria and sees the holy sword glowing like crazy, right as a mysterious voice shouts that the time has finally come since Raid showed up with Re-Eden. Raid looked around to see who was lurking, just as the top of the monolith started glowing like crazy. Suddenly, this black-haired guy named Mikazuchi pops out of nowhere, and he's actually a legendary Imperial Dragon Knight from way back. But now, his soul is literally trapped inside this magic stone. Ale had been quiet until now, but she totally lost it when she saw him. She couldn't wrap her head around the fact that, did he really travel through time just to mess with her? Mikazuchi cracked up because she's still totally delusional. But then, Raid noticed Mikazuchi's body starting to fade away. Turns out he really is just a soul. Mikazuchi stared at his hand, looking pretty worried. It was clear he was running out of time. Raid clenched his fist hard, even if he's got one big question he's dying to ask him. Raid introduces himself as a dragon tamer from the Divine Dragon Empire. He asks Mikazuchi if they're related, and it turns out he really is his ancestor. Mikazuchi knows Vassel broke the family line because Raid's ancestor's spirit told him way back, so now he's finally going to reveal the whole truth. He better listen up, and those ancient dragon partners of his should too. So the Demon King is actually a half-human relative of the clan, and even though Mikazuchi wanted the family to clean up their own mess, the best he could do was trade his life to... Raid finally gets what his clan was meant to do, but he's still wondering how they ended up as dragon tamers for the Divine Dragon Empire. Mikazuchi explains that they were originally from an island in the east, but to take down the Demon King, they had to cross the sea, so one of them bonded with a dragon too. After he died, and Vassel almost wiped out the whole clan, the Dragon Empire saved the best dragon handlers, allowing their family line to survive as the legendary dragon caretakers. Raid's power was actually passed down through his family for ages, so Ale was totally right. Their clan's original secret was sealing arts. The people who moved to the Empire never forgot this spring, so they sent their families back for generations to guard it, proving this monolith isn't just for training. It's actually only clan members who know the secret path can even get to this spring. But since they lost the info on the Demon King, the seal started failing and he had no clue what to do. Suddenly, Raid showed up carrying Raiden, and it felt like the universe was finally giving them a sign. Raid saw Mikazuchi starting to fade and knew his soul was hitting its limit, so he asked one last thing. What was he supposed to do about the Demon King? Mikazuchi told him to grab that epic Dragon Emperor sword and finally take down the Demon King. Since the seal is falling apart, it actually means we finally have a real opening to take him out. He totally drained this sword's power fighting the Demon King, but after all these years, it should be back at full strength. So is he actually going to go through with it? Ray didn't even blink before saying yes, because taking down the Demon King is the only way for everyone to finally live in peace. He seriously wanted to go take him down right this second. Mikazuchi closed his eyes, feeling a massive wave of relief. He was so hyped that he made the right choice. But right, and sliced that massive stone pillar clean in half, sending it crashing straight to the ground. Raid jumped back in total shock as the giant stone pillar shattered. Or wait, was it actually sliced down? He was totally blown away that the magic stone meant to hold a Dragon Knight's soul just got shattered in a single hit. That guy, no, that monster who smashed the pillar stepped right between them to face off against Mikazuchi. It's been a long time since he last saw him. He's been waiting for this exact second for that terrifying cursed presence to finally show its face. Just as the massive shield guarding the forest started to crack wide open, Mikazuchi was totally shocked and demanded to know how Vassel even managed to get inside. But wait, what about those massive ancient dragons guarding the place outside? He looked back to check on them and saw they were getting swarmed by a massive army of monsters. Plus, the Sword Demon's 6 elite warriors were right there with him. Mikazuchi clicked his tongue, super annoyed that Vassel was actually this prepared. But he definitely didn't waste the last few hundred years just sitting around. Vassel stared him down, totally surprised. He starts inching closer, taking it one slow step at a time. Every step he takes sucks the life right out of the trees, and that creepy house is literally overflowing with massive demon energy. Raid feels bad for Ailey, but those vassals are just on a whole other level. Mikazuchi warns Raid that he better watch his back. Vassal was actually a human back then, a legendary warrior who teamed up with him to create the whole Divine Dragon Empire style. Raid was absolutely losing it once he finally figured out who Vassal really was. So that's why his crew could use that crazy dragon style too. But when one of them saw Raid's totally blank face, he straight up said there was no way this guy was actually Mikio. Vassel held his sword high, looking totally ready for action. He summons a dragon using the Divine Dragon Empire style and drops a massive Dragon Claw swift descent. Raid steps back and launches a massive kick at Vassel using his Divine Dragon Empire style. He busts out a Dragon Knight move called the Dragon Wing Waltz, but his foot doesn't even touch the guy. He got sent flying backward with his foot totally snapped. He slammed into the dirt, but the blade didn't even touch him. What just happened? Mikazuchi looked totally freaked out as he explained that the insane demonic power actually sliced the attack. That sword Vassel is holding is Rei Shangri-La, the twin to the legendary blade Raiden, and even though it's corrupted by demon energy now, it was originally a holy weapon built. But seriously, cutting someone with just demon power is totally nuts. So Vassal swung his sword at Raid one more time. Raid tried to block the hit, but he got shoved back so hard he slammed right into a tree. He's coughing up blood as Vassel casually walks toward Raid, planning to sacrifice the last of the Mikazuchi family to kick off the Demon King's big return. Covered in blood and gasping for air, they couldn't believe a legend like Vassal, one of the guys who literally started the Divine Dragon Empire style, would throw away his humanity to become a demon. But the answer is actually super simple. Humans don't live very long. But the Demon King gave this guy forever to reach the top of his game. Luna and Gallard got ready to blast him with dragon breath. She wasn't. Vassel didn't even break a sweat as he shut down their attacks using his dragon claw gyre. Gallard was straight up losing it because he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Is this dude for real? He just slapped their dragon breath away. Vassel totally lost it and charged at the ancient dragons, but Raid's chains shut him down instantly. Basil gave him major props for being smart enough to pull off the same move as Mikazuchi. It's honestly a shame, because he could totally wreck 100 of these things like it's nothing. Raid's jaw dropped when he saw Vassel block the chains coming from his blind spot, so he knew he had to act fast and shouted for Ale to just burn them all to a crisp. Ale's freaking out and telling Vassel not to get the wrong idea while yelling at Raid for thinking he can just control her body since she's tamed. But it's too late because she already launched a massive attack straight at Vassel. Gallard was left wondering if they actually managed to take him down. But Vassel just sliced right through the fire with one massive swing of his sword. He smirks up at Ale because he knows exactly what's going on, and he's ready to take this traitor down right now. She is totally cooked. Everyone just stood there frozen, finally realizing that Vassel was way more powerful than they ever imagined. Right then, Malaria just had bolted straight ahead, and he tossed Re-Eden right into Raid's hand. Is it because he's Mikazuchi's descendant, a legit royal dragon knight? Right now, he finally feels like he can let this sword's true power go wild. The only divine dragon style he actually knows is fighting with his bare fists. So can he really pull this off? Can he seriously take down that beast using sword moves he never even learned? Mikazuchi finally stops watching from the sidelines and tells Raid there's only one way to beat Vassel. He's going to give Raid all his power and memories for just a few minutes. Raid is the only one who can actually take Basil down, and he's got to do it to save the future. He's got to lock in and show everyone he's still got that fire in him. So the Raid side is really doing all this just to save the future, huh? Everything used to be about his family's past and saving his race, which felt like a total fairy tale. But now, things are finally getting serious. The person behind all his suffering is standing right there in front of him. Vassel is out for blood, so the only way for them to survive is to take him down first. He's finally made his choice and is going to borrow Mikazuchi's insane power. Mikazuchi flashed a grin as the clouds finally cleared, knowing it was time for them to get moving. Raid just stood there as this insane, glowing light completely swallowed him up. Mikazuchi's battle skills and a massive wave of demon power are surging into him, finally giving him a real shot at winning this fight. With Luna right there by his side, Raid hopped onto her back. He pulls out his sword, Re-Eaten! Vassel just stood there with a smug grin as Raid and Luna charged at him like a legendary dragon knight reborn, thinking it's wild that Mikazuchi actually pulled off a stunt like this just to power them up. Raid patted Luna on the back and told her it was time to show Vassel what they were really capable of, apologizing because he needed her to stick by him until the very end. Luna charged straight ahead the second he gave the command. The Royal Dragon Knight is stepping up, but Vassel just smirks because he finally found a real challenge and he's ready to throw down. Vassel swung his sword and sent a massive wave of rocks flying at them using his Divine Dragon Empire Dragon Knight style. He unleashes the Scale Gleam Moonbreaker! Luna dodged every single one of them like it was nothing. She opened her mouth to blast some dragon fire, making it clear there was no way she'd let Vassel get anywhere near Raid, not even with the tip of his sword. Faisal tried to dive out of the way, but he was just too slow and took a direct hit right to the shoulder. These guys are really starting to annoy him, especially that brat Raid who's countering every single move and shouting that Vassel totally underestimated them, because even 10,000 attacks wouldn't be enough. Raid used Mikazuchi's memories to guide him and finally activated the art on the ceiling. That's a Sotorika, the legendary spear demon god. Suddenly, a massive black hole just ripped open right behind Vassel. Chains burst out from the inside and wrap him up tight. This is the secret move they use to lock the Demon King away for good. And it's the exact same thing yanking Vassel into a whole different dimension. Basil just laughed like that weak trick was a joke, but the second he tried to make a break for it, Raid charged straight at him, and he knocked Vassal's sword right out of the way. Right then, it finally clicked for Vassel. These chains suck the demon power right out of you, which is a total nightmare. So even though Raid gets shoved back and tries to reset, Vassel is such a beast that he's still SWAT. Wait, is he really about to bust out of that ceiling trap that's using up all his energy? Raid can't use it again, and if he fails, Mikazuchi's power is gonna vanish for good. It's seriously driving them crazy because the dimension is literally right in front of their faces. But he can't shove Vassel inside because the dude is just way too strong. Vassel just laughed, calling him a total knockoff of Mikazuchi and asking if this was seriously the best he could do. Luna and Galar were totally stuck because if they used their breath attacks now, the whole seal would just blow apart, and with Malaria failing to hold him and Raid barely hanging on, Vaz. How do these weaklings have the guts to actually try and fight him? Right then, Milfy totally blasted Vassel with a massive wave of water. She's dead set on wiping out her family's worst enemy right here and now. She's shoving Vassel right toward the black hole, and he's totally freaking out, screaming at Milfy to get lost and calling her a weak little water spirit. But honestly, this weak spirit is the one who's actually got him trapped. She called out to Raid, and he slid his sword back into its sheath. He put his fists up, and Vassel instantly knew that stance. It was the exact same one Mikazuchi used. No way, this is insane. He sacrificed everything to get stronger than the ancient dragons, but was it all just to take an L? Is he seriously still not on Mikazuchi's level even after all that? Back when they were Dragon Knights together, Vassel got absolutely wrecked by Mikazuchi every single time they faced off. This guy is seriously on another level since he traveled all the way from the east just to crush the Demon King, making Vassel, the guy who's supposed to be the Dragon Empire's. Even though they're rivals, they still hang out, and Mikazuchi is super grateful because Vassel's help is the only reason his moves to crush the Demon King are almost finished. Vassel scowled, saying they were only doing all this just to try and get on his level. They kept clashing over and over, but Vassel got wrecked every single time. But then, the Demon King asked if beating him was his biggest dream, and just like that, he fell for the bait and ditched his humanity to run away. That was a glimpse into Vassel's past, seen right through Mikazuchi's memories. So that was his secret. He literally threw away his humanity just for a chance to beat Mikazuchi, because his pride would never let him accept a loss. Raid mocks him, saying Vassel clearly hasn't trained enough if he's losing this easily. But Vassel snaps and warns him to never say that again, especially not while looking exactly like Mikazuchi. Raid unleashed his Divine Dragon Empire style and slammed a massive punch right into Vassel's gut. He taps into his Dragon Knight skills and unleashes the Piercing Dragon Awakening! That right there is a special gift for the water spirits. Then the cat spirit tribe he totally wiped out. He's doing this for Mikazuchi and every single ancestor who came before him. He's got to pay for his crimes in the next life. And that just dragged Vassel even deeper into the darkness, until he was totally swallowed up and they finally locked him away for good. Yara Kishin is the ultimate sealing art, a move so powerful it seals the target and their entire dimension away forever. If Raid didn't have Mikazuchi's memories, he never would have known this thing even existed, and man, his ancestor was seriously on another level. Alright, time's up and the power is totally gone. But Mikazuchi still has every single one of those memories locked inside him. Raid looks up at the sky and promises Mikazuchi that he'll keep their clan's name alive. letting him finally rest in. Everything is finally chill now that he's been turned into a sealed servant. For a split second, it felt like he could actually hear Mikazuchi smiling and giving him props. Once that insane battle finally ended, the monolith was totally back to normal. Right above it sat a massive black hole, which was basically a portal to a whole different dimension. Raid and Luna head out alone while the others stay behind. But AL is literally on her knees begging the Demon King for mercy because she couldn't stop that brat Raid. Right then, Raid sensed a massive wave of creepy demonic energy. It's basically like a legendary dragon just crawled out of the deep forest. It's the Sword Demon's 6 elite generals and their whole squad of goons. Gorus was straight up stunned that Vassel actually went and got himself wrecked. He told them to stay put while he talked to Mikazuchi, but man, they really should have just crashed the party instead. Raid is totally spent and has to dodge the enemies who broke through the dragon's siege, but even though he told them their master Vassel is already sealed, he's dead. Since their master is sealed away, they're on a mission to bring the Demon King back to life instead. Man, Raid dumped basically all his energy into that one seal, so if another powerhouse shows up, they're totally cooked. But then Milphie steps up and tells him to just keep going. Gallard told him to back off and let them handle it, while Malaria stepped up too, ready to take a hit for the team. Raid was actually super moved by what just happened. Fighting an army this huge means they're definitely going to get hurt. He started wondering if sealing the Demon King was even worth the sacrifice. But right as he was trying to decide, out of nowhere, these ancient dragons burst in screaming at the demons, and after apologizing to Gallard for letting a few slip by, they finished off the rest and caught up to get a solid, and he hyped them all up for one last big attack. This really ticked off the 6 vassals, but seeing how serious they were, Raid finally made his choice. He hopped onto Luna's back, shouting an apology to his friends while promising he'd be right back. He put all his faith in his friends and charged straight ahead. He stepped right through the portal into a whole new world. As soon as they stepped inside, they were staring right at a massive 4-armed beast locked in chains, the actual Demon King. He looked up and caught that scent, realizing Raid is definitely a Mikazuchi. But did he really show up just to finish him off? Wait, so this guy actually has power with no limit? Raid gritted his teeth as the Demon King's insane pressure started to totally crush him. His threats don't mean a thing because Raid is a master of the sealing arts, and since Mikazuchi's seal is still holding him back, he's completely stuck, and the Demon King wondered if he'd totally lost his mind, asking if he even realized what it meant to be completely erased from existence. With this insane power, Raid could see straight into the heart of magic, change how the whole world works, and basically live forever. He offers to turn him into a demon just like Vassal, giving him forever to do whatever he wants. But Raid just says sorry and totally shuts him down. He's just a low-key dragon keeper who wants a chill life in the Dragon Nation. But then Luna charges ahead while the Demon King tries to rip his chains apart. He actually managed to snap a few chunks right off, but it was way too late, and Raiden had already stabbed him right through the heart. The Demon King completely lost it and started screaming like a total maniac, until he just straight up went kaboom. They headed straight back into that massive forest, right where the whole squad was already waiting for them to get back. Raid asks Gallard where the other demons went, but Gallard has no clue because right before they got back, every single demon just screamed and turned into straight-up dust. Maybe the others were tied to the Demon King and vanished when the Holy Sword took him out, but Aile is still standing, so I guess she managed to cheat death one more time. Turns out only the Demon King's hardcore followers got wiped out with him. So since Ailey actually liked hanging with Raid and wasn't fully committed to the cause, he totally survived. Everyone's totally beat up, but the only thing that matters is they're still breathing. All right, it's time for them to pray at the monolith and get moving back to the Dragon Nation. Raid suddenly felt a massive chill and yelled for everyone to fly into the sky right now. The ancient dragons blasted into the sky, carrying Raid and the whole squad with them. They just stood there watching as someone finally stepped out of the spring. It's Vassel! This sealed space is totally cut off, so there's no way anyone can bust in from the outside. By trapping Vassel in another dimension, he actually ended up protecting. This is all his fault, and he's definitely going to finish off the last Mikazuchi. Vassel swings his sword while Luna tries to blast him with dragon breath, but she suddenly stops. But those ancient dragons were way too quick, dodging every single one of Vassel's attacks like it was nothing. Raid's watching this mess and he's seriously worried because Luna's totally out of magic. She can't even use her breath. The ancient dragons are barely moving, and everyone. He told Luna he'd stall Vassel so she could get everyone out of there and head to the Divine Dragon Empire to grab Faye and the Sky Dragon. Luna couldn't believe it because he was basically throwing his life away after pushing his magic and body way past the breaking point. But Raid reminded her that as the Dragon Princess, her only job is... Luna was stunned he could even say that, because after everything they've survived, Raid knows exactly how she feels, and he's definitely not letting his partner get killed. One look at Raid's face, and you could tell he was totally locked in. Luna finally said yes, and Gallard was absolutely floored. Everyone thought she'd gone totally insane, and she wasn't exactly happy about it either. But if this is the path Raid chose, she has to trust him as his partner. She was right in the middle of a sentence when Vassel suddenly lunged, but Raid jumped down and used his sealing art to block the hits, yelling for Luna to make a run for it. She gave him one last look, practically begging him to stay alive, before she flew off with the rest of the squad. Raid stood right on his magic circle and pointed out that Vassel looked totally fuming. Is he seriously losing it because the Demon King got wrecked by a cheap copy of the one guy he could never beat? Vassal gritted his teeth and forced his severed arm to grow back. He's starving for more flesh, and since Raid is the chosen sacrifice, he just dares Vassel to step up and bring it on. He jumped back in shock as Vassal suddenly swung his sword, barely dodging the blade by a hair. He spotted a massive opening on his side and went for it. Vassal is a straight-up monster and blocked the sword from a crazy angle, so Raid jumped back to get some space, but Vassal was already chasing him down. He's in real trouble now. This fight is getting way too intense. That power-up he got from Mikazuchi is completely tapped out. He throws a massive kick at Vaz. He gets shoved back, and suddenly Vassal notices chains from the ceiling wrapping around his ankle and sucking away all his power. He brushed it off and charged straight in, losing his mind that the Demon King was actually losing to a total nobody using cheap tricks. He gave up everything for this power, so why can't he just take this kid's head already? Raid finally spills the truth. It's because he threw away the Vassal Scaft, the most powerful weapon humanity has ever seen. He spent hundreds of years training his body with Ray Shangri-La, turning himself into the ultimate weapon. Raid boots Vassel right in the chest to get some space, ready to show him what real human strength actually looks like. He finally gets what the heart really is. It's the burning desire to stand up and fight for everyone else. And those friendships give him a massive power boost, basically saving his life every single time things get crazy. But Vassal just threw it all away like it was nothing. He backstabbed his friends and his home just to get more power. He turned into a demon, but he lost his heart, which was the one thing that actually made him strong. Now Vassal stops cold, realizing his entire life goal was actually just a total obsession. If that's for real, then he better step up and prove it. He's finally showing off his ultimate weapon as Vassal charges in and swings his blade. Raid blocked the hit, but the force behind it was absolutely insane. Wave didn't even need any help to seriously hurt him. Vassal starts mocking him, asking why his ultimate weapon isn't doing anything, but Raid just grits his teeth and promises to crush him so hard he'll never be able to stand up again. He fired up his demon-quelling Aegis. Vassal just scoffed at the guy for trying to use that power while he was so messed up. And even though he's got the potential of a royal dragon knight, his body is... Raid can call him reckless all he wants, but before his body gives out, he's gonna crush him with the one thing Raid threw away, his heart. Raid suddenly cuts his floating magic, sending them both screaming toward the ground. Vassal starts cussing him out in a total panic. Is Raid seriously trying to take them both out with this? Out of nowhere, he grabs Vassal and stabs him right in the chest. Vassal starts burning alive and screams as he realizes he was baited into the sky for this exact moment, and even though he's a weakened heavenly general, did he really think? Basil just burst out laughing, thinking the whole plan was totally genius. He's just a kid, but there's no way any human survives a drop from this high up. Raid stared him down and asked if he'd already forgotten that the heart is humanity's ultimate weapon, because that bond lets them protect anyone, no matter what species they are. Luna's tail sent Vassal flying while she snatched the falling Raid out of the air. He was so hyped she actually showed up for him, and since they're partners, she's never letting him go ever again. The Vassal floating down was totally losing his mind. There's no way this is real. She's just a dragon with zero power left. Like, what can she even do now? The sky dragons finally showed up and swarmed all over Vassal, getting ready to blast him with their deadly breath. This is all for the Royal Dragon Knight, their friend, and their pride. They're finally showing him their real power, and Vassal screams in pain as their combined breath attacks blast him head-on. Was he seriously getting wrecked by the sky dragons from the Divine Dragon Empire? Believe it or not, the empire he ditched for his own greed has actually been protected by Fae and sky dragons this whole time. Vassal is the knight who backstabbed his master and even his own dragon, making him the ultimate traitor to the Divine Dragon Empire. Now he's gonna get burned to a crisp by the dragon's insane fire. Vassal's body just started crumbling away into thin air. Watching Raid and the dragons, he suddenly remembered that he used to have it all too. A crew he could trust and his very own dragon partner. That was the last shred of humanity Mikazuchi left behind back then. The sky dragons went absolutely wild the moment Vassal crumbled into dust. Luna looked back at Raid and saw he was looking totally wrecked. Raid apologized for the trouble, but he was honestly just super grateful for the help. Luna sighed, and even though she had way more to say, they just decided to get lost in the heat for now. Luna turned toward the sky dragons and dropped a huge announcement. This fight is definitely gonna go down as the absolute greatest moment for her partner Raid. Everyone's about to shout the name of a brand new legend right here and now. Raid, the Dragon Tamer, and the Imperial Dragon Knight. For dragon people like them, the rise of the new Imperial Dragon Knight is a massive blessing for the entire world. They all let out a massive roar together, and that's the crazy blessing they were talking about. 10 days after the Demon King was defeated, the monsters finally chilled out, and the Divine Dragon Empire and its neighbors finally got some peace and quiet. Luna and the crew were finally healing up, and most of their cuts and bruises were basically gone. Raid wasn't backing down either, forcing himself to stand up even though he was hurting like crazy. Rowana rushes over to tell him to slow down since he was stuck in bed just 3 days ago, and Raid gives her a quick thanks for looking out for him. But honestly, just sitting around here is super lame, so she should just go outside and have fun. Especially since Rowana says she's totally fine and Luna is coming to take over. Plus, she was reading stories about the gods, so she wasn't bored one bit. Mythology is pretty wild, and in the Divine Dragon Empire of Lazaria, they've got legends about gods creating all kinds of races that are way different from the stories the catfolk tell. Rwanda cracked open her book and started telling the whole story. Back in the age of the gods, the whole world was a burning wasteland covered in the bodies of innocent people. The dragon spat out a curse, demanding to know just how far she was really gonna go. It doesn't matter how much stuff she wrecks. She's never getting what she wants, Supreme Demon Norleys. But Norleys just laughed and said it's definitely happening. Everything so far was just the setup, because if he finally shows up, his biggest fan is gonna be forced to come out too, right? It's his old pal Edelgrilus, the god and father of all dragons, and Igel was totally right that this was Norellus's goal the whole time. Norellus walks right up to him, demanding to know why he's siding with that woman when they both agreed that in this world, the strong are meant to eat the weak. But seriously, why did every single one of them have to go and stab her in the back? Igel hung his head because fighting an old friend is brutal, but he's gotta snap out of it because none of that matters right now. They backstabbed her because they felt totally ashamed of how heartless and evil they'd become. The other gods just smirked because they thought it was totally brainless to bet their whole future on a gamble. But love is the only thing actually making it work. Suddenly, a bright light flashed between them and turned into a person, making Norellus smirk as she lunged forward because she'd been waiting for this exact moment. And even if they don't make it out alive, he's sticking by those kids' side no matter what happens. Raid had been listening the whole time and realized this was the legend of the very first dragon, a story so detailed and brand new that it felt like it actually happened. He asks what happens next, but the story's already over, and right on cue, Luna shows up. He asked if Raid was actually listening and behaving himself. He just found out that Malaria was busy baking some silver vine bread. Rwanda didn't waste a second and bolted toward the spot, waving a quick goodbye to Raid. Luna checks in on Raid's wounds, and while he's feeling way better thanks to everyone's help, his organs are still healing from that insane magical backlash, so using the Holy Dragon Emperor is strictly off limits for now. Raid might be done with that power forever since the enemies are all gone, and even though Luna hopes he never needs it, she still packed it just to be safe. Raid's jaw dropped the second he spotted the Redans. He thought it went back to the catfolk with Rishangrila, so he's totally shocked to see it here. But Luna explains that the chief and Malaria sent it back because she's holding on to it for now because he always goes way too hard the second he gets started. She's definitely still salty about what happened back then, so Ray agreed instantly. But she's gotta give it back once his body is finally healed up. Raid lets out a massive yawn and tells Luna he's still exhausted, so he just plops his head right onto her lap for another nap. Raid's face turns bright red as he hesitates, worried her legs are going numb, but Luna promises she's totally fine because she actually wants to do this for him. Plus, partners are basically supposed to be stuck together 24/7, right? Raid agreed, totally lost in how stunning Luna's smile was. Back then, he had no clue about the insane battles coming his way, or the one meeting that would change his whole life forever. Is he just dreaming right now, or is someone actually calling out his name? The sun was blazing down, and it was officially the start of a brand new day. It's another awesome morning, and Luna is already knocking on Raid's door. They wish him a good morning and say breakfast is all set. So Ray tells them he'll be right there once he's finished getting ready. It's been a whole year since that massive war with the Demon Clan, and things are finally starting to change in the Dragon Nation. Rowana greets Raid while carrying a tray of bread. Then she and Milfy serve up the meal for Raid and Luna. Raid thanked them both and promised he'd be back to help clean up the mess later. It's time for everyone to dig in, and Rowana hands a bowl to a mom holding her baby, who feels bad and apologizes for making Rowana cook for the whole group. Rowana promised her everything was totally fine since she's officially the big sister for the cat spirit tribe now. She's totally pumped now that the monsters have finally chilled out, and a ton of the cat tribe is already heading back home to rebuild. To keep everyone safe, The pregnant moms and babies stayed back in the Dragon Nation while Rowana and the others handled the cooking. And it's honestly wild to think that even Raid was once a precious kid loved by his parents just like this. Right then, Aile walks into the kitchen and asks Milfy for some breakfast. Milfy is totally fine with it, but Aile has to help her clean up the mess later. Aile doesn't. Milfy used to hate Aile's guts so much, she'd try to scrap the second she saw her. The fact they're actually talking now shows that Milfy is finally cooling. Milfy tries to play it off like she's just seeing things, but Raid realizes he was dead wrong because she's definitely still super ticked off. Result: Raid finished eating and stood up feeling a bit weird. Usually, they'd just be babysitting old dragons or hunting for loot, but today felt totally different. That's because it's finally the day of the big ceremony, and Raid, Luna, Milfy, and Rowana show up to join the rest of the crowd. Now that the whole crew is finally here, Albarn announces it's time to kick off the Dragon Vein ceremony. They're all praying to their ancestor, the legendary dragon god Igel. Raid was totally blown away when he saw every single dragon close their eyes and bow down to him. He followed along with Milfy and Rowana, wondering if Igel is actually the name of that legendary divine dragon that even the ancient dragons in Revere bow down to. This is the same legendary being who fought the Demon King alongside his ancestor Mikazuchi and gave the dragon sword Riden its insane demon-slaying power. And right after the prayer finished, a bunch of dragons haul out this massive horn, and it's actually the legendary horn of the divine dragon. If it's really that huge, then it's way bigger than even the ancient dragons. This chunk actually snapped off during the big fight with the Demon King, and since the Dragon Vein ceremony only happens every few hundred years, even Luna's seeing it for the first time while he watched Albarn power up the horn with magic, and it instantly shot out a massive beam of light, stretching all the way up into the clouds. This is the Dragon Vein ceremony, where ancient dragons suck up tons of energy from the massive magic rivers flowing through the land just to stay alive and use their powers. So every few hundred years, if the Dragon King sees the dragon veins are losing power, they hold a huge ceremony to jumpstart them back to life. Luna leans in to tell Raid the light finally stopped, but she warns him to stay totally still because it's not over yet. Just like how people get skills from the gods, there's supposedly one last gift waiting at the end of this ceremony. Raid finally realized what was happening. That's why everyone was standing perfectly still. Suddenly, a blinding light slammed into the ground, and Gallard yelled for everyone to get back. And even those legendary ancient dragons did exactly what they were told. Just chilling there, waiting for that gift to finally pop open on its own. When it finally opened, they were totally shocked to find a girl just napping there. Albarn straight up warned them. Whatever you do, don't just walk up to that guy. Actually, he's basically a god, so don't be reckless. He stared her down, realizing she really was packed with an insane amount of magic. He's totally convinced this guy is a literal god. We're talking about a real deal god, and the ancient dragons are freaking out because nobody this powerful has visited their nation since the divine dragon. Like, what is even happening right now? Albarn says sorry to Raid, but then he asks for a massive favor. Escort the girl to the Cat Spirit Tribe's village, because he's got to rush back and tell the big bosses exactly what's going down. Ray was down for it and headed straight over to the girl. He's about to pick her up when he suddenly freezes from a bad memory, and even though Luna catches him acting weird, Raid just plays it off like everything's fine. Instead, he just picked her up and headed straight for the Cat Spirit Village. He gently lays her down on the bed. Luna was totally stunned that a literal god was gifted to their kingdom, and while her magic power was insane, she couldn't understand why someone this strong was completely knocked out. People all over the world tell stories about the divine, a legendary creator god who used their insane power to build the entire world and every race in it. A literal god dropping into the Dragon Nation as a gift means something massive is about to happen. Luna's just hoping that this girl has a peaceful way down. You can totally get why she's stressed since the Dragon Nation finally found some peace. But then, a literal god just drops out of the sky, and Raid's definitely got a weird... Right then, he remembered that blurry dream with the mystery voice, realizing it was actually Mikazuchi's memory, the same guy who gave him insane magic sword skills and clan secrets after he totally wrecked Vassel. Right then, a piece of Mikazuchi's memory flashed back to him just like when he saw Basil's past, and he realized the woman from his dreams looks exactly like this girl. Wait, is this actually Mikazuchi's memory? Is it possible there's some crazy fate connecting them since Mikazuchi's day, just like the bond between the Demon King and the Demon Clan? They'll just have to wait for her to wake up to get the full story. But meanwhile, Ayla was spying on them from the doorway after ditching the Dragon Vein ceremony because she asked Raid who the girl was since her magic felt just as crazy as the Holy Dragon Emperor's sword, even guessing she might be related to the Divine Dragon, which was actually a total bullseye. So Raid started explaining everything that went down at the ceremony. Ale was totally losing it because he couldn't believe a real god would actually show up in this day and age. She literally saw the Divine Dragon's horn snap off with her own eyes, so she never expected to find it hidden right here in the Dragon Nation. That horn is definitely why she showed up, especially since people used to use items linked to gods to summon them right into our world. It's totally bizarre that some random god showed up instead of the Divine Dragon, and Raid almost mentioned that there was actually a time when people could just summon gods whenever they felt like it. Ailey finally gets the vibe and decides to ditch the village before the girl wakes up, but Luna just gives her this super creepy grin. Luna's worried she'll run off and cause chaos, but before she could even finish her sentence, the god they were just talking about suddenly showed up. And just like that, the girl finally opens her eyes. Ale was huddled in the corner, shaking like crazy from pure fear. The girl spins around to Luna and asks where she even is right now. Luna explains that she's in the Dragon Nation, the legendary home of ancient dragons, and the girl repeats her words exactly. He looked back up at them and asked what an ancient dragon even was. But who were these guys? Wait, no way. Who even is this girl? She's totally lost her memory, so Raid can't get any answers out of her. But for now, they should probably just start by introducing themselves. He introduced himself as Raid Dyson along with Luna and Ailey, then explained the whole situation, revealing she's actually a total powerhouse god from the divine race. Rai let out a massive sigh of relief when she finally understood him, because at least now they can actually talk to each other. Alright, so what should they call her? She tries to think, but she doesn't even know her own name. She needs a name until her memory comes back, and since Raid's been so helpful, she wants him to pick one. But he just gives a nervous grin because that's a massive responsibility. But then he saw how hyped she was. He was backed into a corner and had to say yes, so he took a second to pick the perfect name. But right as he was about to say it out loud, he did a total 180 and decided to stick with the name Kalmia. Kalmia was totally vibing with her new name, so a hyped-up Luna dragged her outside to meet the rest of the squad while Raid just stayed glued to his seat. Ale just stood there keeping watch right by the door. Right as he's about to speak, the name Kalmia suddenly pops into his head. Is this a memory from Mikazuchi, and did he actually know this girl? He realizes that's... He looked up, wondering if Mikazuchi knew who this girl really was. After Kalmia finished meeting everyone in the Dragon Nation, the Dragon King hooked her up with a place to stay until her memories finally come back. But they just found out something wild. She can actually see the flow of mana. Mana is usually totally invisible unless someone uses a magic circle or a spell to pull it out. Kalmia might have lost her god powers, but her eyes can still see exactly how mana works, and after talking to the Dragon King Albarn, she wonders if this is just a special. The trio stepped outside, and Galard was right there waiting for them. Luna asks why he's even there, but he just plays it cool, saying he wanted to give their divine guest a tour of the Dragon Nation from the sky, and honestly, Kalmia is gonna be totally into it. Luna offered her a ride since Gallard's flying is way too rough, and Kalmius was left totally stunned by how epic her dragon form looked. She was cute as a human, but now she looks like a total warrior princess, and Luna was seriously hyped to get a compliment from a literal god. Gallard's gonna fly right next to Kalmia to protect her since she's carrying Luna, and Luna tells Raid to hop on first so he can pull Kalmia up. Raid did exactly what she asked, even giving Kalmia his own boots to keep her feet safe from those sharp scales. As soon as Luna was good to go, they finally headed out. They were totally surrounded by a squad of ancient dragons acting as their personal bodyguards. Raid was stoked about the clear sky and asked Kalmia what she thought, but she had no clue because she was clinging to him with her eyes squeezed shut. She forced her eyes open, but seeing how high up they were just made her totally freak out. Man, she definitely hates being up this high. Luna told her to stop pushing so hard and just head back down, but Kalmia refused to quit because she wanted to get used to it since Luna brought her all this way. Raid tells her not to push it, but Gallard says it's cool, so they're all following Kalmia's lead and Luna is totally down. Pushing too hard is a bad move, but they're gonna keep going for now. Kalmia is clinging to Raid for dear life as she slowly starts to open her eyes. She's super hyped and tells him she can finally see the ground. And man, the view is actually insane, but Raid has to beg her to chill out because she's totally... Her tiny boobs are squished right against his back, her whole body pressed up on him. Kalmia whines that she's totally gonna fall, so she's holding on to him for dear life and won't let go. Luna was watching the whole time and warned her not to hold on so tight. Raid's her partner, so he's the one stuck with her. Kalmia got the creeps and started complaining like crazy. Even the ancient dragons flying next to them felt bad for the guy. Kalmia finally hit her limit and passed out cold, so their wild trip through the clouds ended with her totally unconscious. Luna landed in the nearby woods, tucked Kalmia under the shade of a tree, and sat down with Raid as she started to speak. Kalmia is officially done riding with him from here on out. She's totally going with someone else, while Raid keeps making excuses that it wasn't his fault and it's really no biggie. Luna leans her head right on his shoulder. She's really starting to feel lonely because they've barely spent any time together lately. She's a bit of a brat, but honestly, being the dragon princess means she's always gotten exactly what she wants. Raid was the only one she ever wanted around, but after he ditched the Dragon Empire, she thought she lost him forever. So now that they're finally back together, she's doing everything to make him feel as close to her as possible. She knows Kalmia doesn't feel the same way, but she just can't shake it. She just can't stop being selfish, but is he really gonna let that slide? Raid grabbed her hand and gave her a warm smile, telling her she wasn't being selfish at all because that's exactly what partners are for. Luna flashed a big smile and thanked him. As soon as they got back, they handed Kalmia over to the cat spirit tribe. Raid headed over to the public bath and slapped a sign on the door letting everyone know it was officially guys' time. He sank right into the steaming hot spring. He's finally finished all his work and wonders if he should take Kalmia on a trip outside the Dragon Nation, when suddenly she pops up behind him and says she'd totally love that. Raid stopped dead in his tracks, feeling like this had all happened before. He didn't even look her way, wondering if she'd lost her sense of shame right along with her memories. He asks if she missed the sign at the entrance, but she totally did because she can't even read those letters. He wondered if she even knew what a hot spring was, but she actually showed up because the cat people told her it feels amazing to get all warmed up. Raid asks what's up with her clothes, and she just says she's copying him since she saw him strip down first. Raid was totally blown away because even with her memory loss, this girl had absolutely zero common sense. Though he wasn't really sure what was normal for a literal god anyway, right? Raid stood up, wrapped a towel around himself, and told her to rinse off with the bucket before hopping in. Usually, guys and girls soak separately, so he offered to head out first so she would. Plus, she's always counted on him to be the normal one, so if he starts acting weird again, she's gonna have a major problem. This whole situation is totally crazy, but Raid decides he's not going anywhere. He figures it's totally fine as long as Luna and everyone else stay clueless. Kalmia sits right next to Raid and asks if she's actually from the heavens. Totally sure it's true because of all the legends and the fact she literally fell straight out of the sky. She stared up at the sky, wondering what that place was actually like. Kalmia's acting all cheerful, but she's definitely low-key panicking about her lost memories. So she asks Raid what his home was like. His parents are gone, and he's been through way too much to care about this country. But the Sky Dragons are his real family, so home is wherever they are. To him, home isn't a place, it's just wherever his family is. The Dragon Nation is totally his home too because they took him in when he was kicked out, and after making so many memories there, he truly loves the place. Kalmia flashed a grin and said that was seriously awesome. He's got love for every single person, and the whole world totally adores him back. Today, she finally realized that there are way more ways to like and love someone than she ever imagined. She's really hoping her own country is as awesome as the Dragon Nation, so Raid tells her she should just move in and stay there too. Even if her memories never come back, she can just hang out and get to know the Dragon Nation until it feels like home. And since everyone there is super chill, they're totally gonna. Now that is a seriously genius plan. He's definitely taking her on a bigger tour tomorrow, even past the Dragon Kingdom's borders. She's going to learn all about the Dragon Nation and fall in love with it, and Ray promised she can totally count on him to handle everything. Obviously, Luna found out about the mixed bathing later, and she was totally fuming. Meanwhile, in a whole different world, Noralis was just chilling on top of a trashed temple. She kept her eyes shut until she finally found her target, and now it's time to decide the fate of her entire divine tribe. She raises her hand and these dark shadows start crawling right out of the ground. They're turning into knights, a brand new race she created all by herself. She's way closer to being a god than any human, and she's got a loyal squad that only takes orders from her, the ultimate demon queen. They go by the name Dark Angel. She ordered them to head straight to the Dragon Clan's land and bring back the god hiding out there. She's giving them a piece of her power, so if anyone tries to stop them, even a god, she's given them the green light to totally wipe them out. Everyone was in trouble except for that one kid, and Noralis couldn't help but crack a wicked smile. But then, she suddenly groans and grabs her cheek, even though she hasn't moved an inch this whole time. Is she finally hitting her limit? But honestly, that's exactly what makes it so much more satisfying when she finally pulls it off. All right, it's time to hit the road, and back in the Dragon Nation, Raiden and his crew are already making their way through the forest. Ale suddenly lets out a huge squeal and tells Kalmia to stop grabbing her tail, but Kalmia was just curious if it was actually real, which totally shocks Ale because obviously it's a. Luna cracks up because Kalmia is totally vibing with Ale, and Ray says she's been like this since breakfast, so Ale is officially stuck tagging along. Gaylord suggested they show Kalmia around the Dragon Nation today, so they took her to see this super beautiful lake they remembered. But when they finally show up, the whole place is a total disaster. With those footprints and the water still all muddy, whoever did this has to be right around the corner. Raid saw bubbles popping on the surface and screamed for everyone to get away from the lake right now. Just like he thought, a monster burst out of the lake and sent water flying everywhere. It's a kelpie, and its stomach is bulging out like crazy. Kelpies are magical beasts that only stick to the cleanest water, which means this one is definitely here to give birth. Smashed trees and muddy water prove this thing was totally freaking out right before it went into labor. It went on a total rampage, sending a massive wave crashing right toward them. The ancient dragons had to fly up with everyone on their backs, but since they couldn't get too reckless with the girls there, Gallard told Raid to use his sealing art to shut it down. Right on cue, Raid fired off his sealing art and locked the kelpie down with heavy chains. This just sends it into an even crazier rampage. This power is absolutely insane. Even with Raid pinning it down using his sealing art, the thing is still manipulating the water. He remembers hearing that kelpies have flooded entire lands whenever they get. It'll be a total nightmare if this happens in the Dragon Nation too, so I've got to find a way to rip it off and get it out of here. Ancient dragon breath is insanely powerful, so if it lands, even a massive kelpie like this is totally toast, and Luna was just about to blast it. Kalmia stops them both, explaining the kelpie is just terrified, but when she says she's gonna talk to it, Luna is like, "Wait, how are you even gonna do that?" Kelpies don't even understand human speech, but Kalmia's got a gut feeling she can reach it, so she's the one stepping up to win it over. Raid talked Luna into trusting Kalmia for now, since her divine tribe roots might actually let her talk to monsters. Luna's totally against it, yelling that it's a suicide mission since Kalmia will get turned into a pancake if that kelpie steps on her, but Raid says he's got it covered and will pull her out of there the second things go south. He told Kalmia to stay still because things were about to get crazy, and she immediately asked what he was planning to do. Raid just whipped up some chains to tie her up and left her dangling right in front of the kelpie, while Kalmia totally panicked and begged for another way. Raid figured this was the absolute best way to make sure she stayed safe. She doesn't even have to worry because they'll yank her right back up the second things get sketchy. Kalmia was super nervous, but she still tried to talk to the kelpie, only for it to scream right in her face. She's totally panicking and crying, but honestly, you wouldn't be in a good mood either if you were tied up like that. Kalmia apologized for grabbing the kelpie so fast, but she told her to chill out since they aren't actually trying to hurt her. Don't sweat it, because there isn't anyone around who actually wants to mess with her, so she didn't even have to get up from her spot. The kelpie finally chilled out and just plopped right down on the ground. So Raid finally unleashes his insane sealing art and they asked Kalmia if the coast was clear, and she promised them they were finally safe. As she pets the kelpie, she can actually hear its heart, and it turns out she traveled a massive distance just to have her babies and wants everyone to back off. Raid was totally shocked she could read a monster's heart, and with her voice suddenly switching up, he wondered if this was that insane divine tribe power. Kalmia saw Kelpie shaking and asked what was wrong, because the magic in the air had just totally shifted. "You can feel it. Something's about to be born, so they better back off and give it some space." The Kelpie finally had her babies. It started rubbing its head against its mom, showing her some serious love. Kalmia smiles because she totally agrees. Even the scary monsters everyone's afraid of have real feelings and are just as alive as they are. She turns to Luna and says that since the mom and baby are staying at the lake for a bit, they need to make sure no ancient dragons show up. So Luna totally agrees to help, and Aid gives Luna a quick thanks, and they start the long trek back to the Dragon Nation. Let's try. Raid gives Luna a quick thanks, and they start the long. Kalmia started questioning if her parents were actually kind, and while Raid was totally sure they were, he couldn't figure out why she was even bringing it up. Seeing that Mother Kelpie really got Kalmi thinking, and she knew if her own kid was ever snatched, she'd charge straight into the Dragon Nation to get them back. She was kicked out of the Celestial Realm and wonders if her parents are still looking for her. But if the Divine Tribe is really that powerful, you'd think they would have found her by now. Nobody's sure how she reached the Dragon Nation or if the Divine Tribe can even track her, but she arrived looking exactly like a falling star. Hitting the ground at that speed would have been game over even for a divine being. But while she's totally out cold, someone is using magic to slow her down so she doesn't go splat. Only someone who truly cares about her could handle that much insane power. Kalmia was honestly so happy to hear that. 3 months later, Kalmia, Milphie, and Rowana head back to the forest to visit the Kelpie family. But Milphie notices Kalmia is totally winded and tells her, "Don't get it twisted, she's not weak. It's just that everyone else is on a whole different level." It's been 3 months since she arrived in the gang. Raid was super worried and tried to dig for info in the Divine Dragon Empire. But it's way too hard when the Emperor is literally waiting to catch him. She used to be totally freaked out about her lost memories, but now she's not even worried anymore. Let's check the isolation rule. Each line must be a complete thought. Never spill the meaning of one line into the next. Since there is only one input block, I will treat. Milphie's not so sure about this since monsters totally trashed her home, so she basically hates their guts. She just thinks every kid deserves to grow up no matter what they are, and Rowana totally agrees. Plus, that baby is just way too cute. They chilled there until it started getting dark, and as they headed back, Rowana decided to turn the trip home into a race. Suddenly, the mama Kelpie let out a massive roar and dove right into the lake with her kid. Everyone got the chills the second they felt that creepy, dark energy. Rowana's got a really bad feeling about this, but when she checks on Milphie, she insists she's totally fine. She summons a magic arrow and pulls back the string, ready to take out whatever shows up next. Suddenly, pitch-black rain starts pouring down from the sky. Kalmia watched in total shock as those black shapes morphed into dark angels, including Igel, knowing these monsters have the same insane magic power as ancient dragons. There's no way monsters that scary are just wandering around everywhere, but they totally are. Every single one of these things has as much magic as an ancient dragon, or maybe even more. Kalmia thought they were after the mama Kelpie and her baby, but if that's the case, they're acting super weird. They aren't even getting ready to raid the lake. They're being targeted, so Rowana stepped right in front of a terrified Kalmia to protect her, right as the dark angels came charging straight for them. That's the end of Chapter 17. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys love this manga and have an awesome day.